Hey kids, you're listening to the internet's wettest podcast about video games, consoles, and pancakes. The SML Podcast.
What's up, everybody? This is the SML Podcast. I am your host, Joe. Fun episode lined up. We got a PartyCast later on in the show, but we're starting things off with Tim and Brooke. How are you two doing?
Great, good. But we'll do this again in like an hour. You know,
I mean,
who cares about how we're? Well, I care about how we're doing, but
I mean, we're not going to have a break. We're just going to record straight through. We're going.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
Start
but
to
then we
end.
have to ask how Pernell and Chris are, and you know,
Nah.
I mean,
We'll
maybe.
don't do it, Joe. I dare you.
They just joined the call. It's like, all right, rate a review.
Right.
No, I don't care. But I'm ready to talk, and we've got quite a guest joining us right now. Ro Panuganti, how are you doing, sir?
I am doing well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Welcome back to the show. It's been a while. How have you been?
I've been, I guess, busy seems appropriate, but thank you so much for having me again. I feel like I'm trying to remember the last time I was on album-wise, and it's got to have been like, I don't know, 3 years?
It's
Maybe
been
more.
a couple years. I can't remember myself. I'm old and my memory is terrible. But
All good.
in the meantime, you have since released like 40 albums, and they're all amazing.
Well, thank you. And 40 is, yeah, that's probably about right. I have an addiction to albums, even if it's, you know, whatever the quality is, whatever it is. It's a nice way to kind of bookmark where you are, or whatever game you're obsessed with that year. So, you know, here we are.
And we're about to talk about the latest obsession, which is why Tim is here. Zelda. Who's excited about Zelda?
I mean, I'm also here because I was interested in talking with Ro, not just because of Zelda. Come on now.
That makes me feel better.
Yeah, I was about to say a little impersonal. Yeah, this guy's only here because of Zelda. You said
Hey,
Z
and the
word.
album's only selling because of Zelda. I mean, don't underestimate the power of someone else's IP.
Well, Brooke's here for you, though.
That's true. I haven't tried the new Zelda
Holy.
yet, but it's because I haven't quite finished the old Zelda yet. So
fair enough.
I'm making myself wait.
How many hours have you put in that, Brooke? No, I'm not. You don't
Let's
have
not
to
talk
say.
about it. We did this whole
She's
thing.
played
Couple
it a
weeks ago,
lot.
I yelled about it. Yeah, you know, I get lost a lot. If you've tuned
Fair
into
enough.
my reviews on the show, that's my biggest recurring theme. I also restart tutorials a lot, so you know.
No, I respect that. I haven't beaten like more than one Metroid game, and
Word.
every time a new one comes out, everyone's just like, "Yeah, I beat it in like 7 hours." And I was like, "I spent 7 hours like looking at the background."
That is me.
Yeah. Well, yeah, Brooke likes to like absorb and enjoy the world, and I have nothing but respect for that. I think it's awesome. Like when we were all playing Elden Ring last year, it was the same thing where we talk about it for an hour every single week. And yeah, Brooke was just like, I just found this little skeleton guy, and I just thought he was the cutest thing, and I just stared at him
this
for like
is
45
so-
minutes and cried.
That's
So
that's
cute.
awesome.
I mean, have you
That-
seen the skeleton snails? They are adorable.
Yeah.
I'm awful at those games. I have like 35 hours in Elden Ring.
Ooh, nice.
And I haven't gotten past like anything. I've just roamed around trying to figure out why people like this kind of thing. And,
Yeah, I feel like there's a lot of. I find a lot of the appeal that I get from Elden Ring is similar to the appeal that I get out of a Zelda, in particular, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where you just have these big open worlds with lots of things to discover.
Yeah. No, I think there's something really exciting about certain open world games that have like hooked the masses. I wouldn't even dare to call them like similarly accessible, but I find like Zelda is a very good entry point for new gamers, surprisingly. And with Breath of the Wild, my sister, she hasn't played a lot of games, you know, for a good bit of time, and yet she kind of came back with Breath of the Wild, and I was really surprised. But I think the idea that you can do whatever you want, but there is like some sort of loose main quest or thing to keep it going is really exciting, and that's kind of why I really like Breath of the Wild, and that's why Elden Ring's the one Soulsborne type game I've even like gone somewhere with.
It's the only one I played, so I hear you. I didn't want to start it because it just didn't really sound like my thing. I don't like hard games. If you figured that out by talking to me for 5 minutes, I was like, oh, what's Elden Ring's deal? They're like, it's really hard. I'm like, yeah, I'm never gonna play it. So I had to be tricked into it.
It's pretty. Okay,
and here you sit, Elden Lord.
Elden Lord after 300 hours for a playthrough. Yeah. So that's who you're dealing with here, man. No shame. Wow. Thank you for remembering that I am an Elden Lord. It means a lot to me.
Game respects game.
But enough about Elden Ring. We spent like 60 hours on
this
year.
This Return of the Wild business.
Tell us about this this album that you put out. It's a brand new album, just came out in the past week?
I think like 2 weeks ago. I literally went on vacation the day after it came out, so it was May 22.
I don't want to know what people think. Let me out of here.
Oh my god! Like, actually, though, that I mean, it doesn't cross my mind, but dear God, it kind of does.
Well, what's the reception been so far?
I mean, I could never. Well, maybe I could try. I've never put out an album where people were ugly, like audibly, like visibly hated it. People have been fantastically kind about this one in particular. To start again, Return to the Wild is it's 14 tracks from Breath of the Wild that happen to also largely be in Tears of the Kingdom. I got super lucky with that. So,
that's cool.
But it's also kind of like a George Lucas special edition remake expanded version of I tried making Breath of the Wild a Breath of the Wild EP in 2017 called The Wild, and this was literally like when Breath of the Wild came out. I was on spring break for my last year of college, and I was so excited for the Switch and for a new Zelda. And I found out it was licensable, and I got the nudge from my last label that I should do something about it. So in like 11, 12 days, I just binged working on 5 tracks from Breath of the Wild, because as some people may or may not know, you can't quite cover and make these like albums with any song. You have to find a CD that's been released with the video game's music in the US, and it's a whole deal. But yeah, so like that experience was really exciting, obviously very rushed. So I had a blast. I asked for a lot of help from friends like my buddy David Russell on piano, and Carlos Insane the Rain Music. Eni did like a solo for me, and like I called in a lot of favors very quickly. And that was the moment I realized, like personally, there was a little personal journey situation here that I'm like, dang, I need to like take myself and my music like seriously now, because this was like a pretty great idea. And I was really fortunate that the album did pretty well, like the EP, the old one, and we even had a CD run, which was really cool. Obviously, like there's still some CDs floating about, and from then on I started going by Ro Panuganti, and I started like checking my branding. I love Zelda, so I always wanted to eventually find a way to like license a bigger version of that. And again, I clocked in a lot of time in Breath of the Wild. Since that time, I did a Super Metroid album, I did a Ocarina of Time album, Pokemon album, Undertale album, Star Fox album, Frozen album. Like I've done a lot of like little projects since, and again, some of those are not little. But I always thought like, man, one day I'm just going to do like a bunch of songs from Breath of the Wild, and then, get even better production and, reach out to even more musicians, because this was, kind of short. So to fast forward to last week, Return to the Wild really is like, let's go back and see how far we've grown in 6 years. Can I record guitar, and like, have I gotten better as a guitar player? Have I gotten better as a collaborator? Which is incredibly important to me. And on this album, almost every song has someone else on it. have I gotten better with ordering songs and like, putting tracks together and recreating a video game experience? Can I make an album that like stands out? A lot of people do albums. There's tons of video game like remixy cover artist people now. So how do I make mine feel the most like me? But yeah, that's kind of the summary.
You mentioned the track order being a big thing. That's something that I always feel is really important with the CD. I'm someone who used to make mixtapes in high school for all my friends. Someone wanted a CD burnt, and I would do it and then add more tracks to the end that they would like, just because I didn't want empty space on a disc.
Yeah.
So I appreciate when someone takes time and puts thought into their album and their track list. That means a lot to me.
I mean, discs used to be, a blank CD used to be like $2 there, friend.
Yeah.
You had to use that space, make the most of it. I could tell you, having like dug out some of my old mix CDs, that track ordering was not something I was good at. I was just throwing stuff on there.
I mean, mix and like, people listen on shuffle these days. So it's really good that you brought that up, because I do want to kind of like throw this out there. Like there are two roads you can go by, but in the long run, your album's going to sound whatever order you put it in. And a lot of people today are, including me, are just going to shuffle it, or just going to like pull the one single they like and throw it in a playlist called, like songs to work out to or something, or sleepy time 24/7 study. So like when it comes to putting an album together, my biggest influence with, why the order matters is Pink Floyd's The Wall, your Dream Theater Scenes from a Memory, like Rush 2112. Like, you're telling a story if you approach prog albums that way. And I think that's really cool, because video games are obviously, like, there's a story most of the time. So with this album, I got really excited at, like, what would it take to make that actually seem closer to like a story than if I just make like 14 tracks that are all individually good, they're all going to be singles, whatever. Maybe people will use it in the background of their YouTube videos or whatever kids are doing these days. So a lot of the tracks have transitions. Like you'll hear little sound design stuff, which is like kind of to put you in the mood of like Link swimming, and then all of a sudden you're in Zora's Domain, or what's another one? Sometimes you'll hear like wind blowing, and then you'll hear like an accordion that's kind of like warming up, and then Kass theme. Just like little things that glue the album together and make you feel like you're getting a good bite out of like Breath of the Wild. I think that's really important, and I really doubt I'm the only person doing this in like the game music space, but it is kind of a risky move, because like, quick story, I did an album for Ocarina of Time, and I did this, outros that like glue everything together. And at the time it was called Awesome Games Done Quick, or it might have been Summer Games Done Quick. They asked for people to submit music, and I sent in a cover of the Forest Temple music. And at the end of it, it leads into the Fire Temple. So I had like this acoustic guitar playing over a fireplace or something, and it was really quiet. And like the chat's been like getting into the speed run. They're like talking about the music, and they're like, this slaps, this is, saying nice things. And all of a sudden everyone thought like the stream broke because the music got super quiet. And I was like, I literally just killed the vibe by doing these transitions. And so yeah, it's a dangerous
you gotta be careful. There's a band I follow called Starset that does a lot of those. And there's so many times a song will end, and I'll look at my CD player in the car, and it'll be like, there's a minute 40 left. I'm like, fuck. What do I have to sit through? And it's just like two guys talking about spaceships, and I'm like, why is this on here? Just give me music.
Yeah, but sometimes like those transitions are what make like the album listening experience an album listening experience.
Yeah.
Yeah, word.
Yeah.
I'm just not a fan of star sets.
Like I was just like, I was listening to a Mega Ran album. I think it was his Live 95 PS5 today, and I was just like, oh, there's like some really nice transitions between the songs here. So I was literally just thinking about that this morning.
It's not genre, tied either.
Oh no,
Kendrick Lamar's "To Pimp a Butterfly" is one of my favorite albums ever, and it just like dazzles with transitions. But again, like from a practical point of view, like as a musician trying to make money from this too, or like try to grow, people don't like that. they want music to start in the first 5 seconds, and I mean, just to like scratch the surface of the YouTube like video game music scene, we can't win anymore. Like anything, if I make a music video, do not dare to put like a lengthy intro. Dear God, like you need to make a short. Like don't make a music video. But yeah, so there's a lot of thought process with all of that.
This is why movie trailers online now start with like a 5-second clip that say the trailer starts now. It's like,
yeah.
And I hate that so much. I hate it.
No. You got to have the movie trailer teaser to tell you that the trailer is going to drop soon. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, all of those things are very counterintuitive. Like, I'm sure like most people who like music have favorite albums. But the album itself, as you put, it's a listening experience, and not everyone's like, oh boy, can't wait to sit down for 46 minutes and, not move out of my chair and focus on, every song and every transition. And no, some people just want to like click it and then go cook, or, hear 5 seconds of the coolest part and then go do something else. So
I find myself listening to albums a lot as I go to sleep. Like and it's not like, oh, I'm going to put on Xenogears Light and have some soothing piano. Like I put on Linkin Park's The Hunting Party to go to sleep, and that's their metal album.
Oh yeah.
Cool.
Like and that's another one of my all-time favorite albums. My only gripe with that is I think track 4 should have been an intro instead of an interlude, but that's a whole nother subject for another day. I fall asleep to metal music, and I soothes me and puts me to sleep, and your music helps.
Well, I think that's awesome that, like, again, like genre agnostically speaking, like music can function really well that way. And albums especially are like these, I try to think of it as like mini movies, which again, it's not a good mindset to have if you're trying to make like a money thing. I think, because, that's just not the way a lot of people listen to music now. And at the same time, that means like when I made Return to the Wild, I was like, all right, I'm making this because I think it's going to be awesome. And I think there's enough people like me who like albums. But a lot of people, especially younger people, discover music through Instagram Reels, TikTok, through comedy sketches, through like media. I mean, how many people found out what a Metallica is thanks to Stranger Things? It's
true.
Which, again, like you have to think of it like trickling down. Of like 100 people who found out what Master of Puppets is, like 5 of them are going to try to play guitar now. Like that's incredible and really exciting to me. So likewise with Return to the Wild, it's like, okay, a bunch of people like Zelda, right? And then of those people, how many of them are like geeky enough to discover music, covered from it? And like how many of them are like going to want to listen to a full album? And of those people, they're going to be psyched and they're going to be really happy, even if it's like a very small amount of people. So, that's kind of what I hope to put out with almost all of my stuff, frankly. Like the YouTube videos and the quickie like stuff that I'll do for views, that I know I'm trying to like, get more people with. But this is definitely like a work of
need to get on the
passion.
TikToks.
Yeah, well, my wife is like, she found her place with that. She made a lot of like really good comedy sketches, but I can't do TikTok. I can do Instagram Reels, and I love comedy, but all that effort, I'm like, maybe I should put it towards like playing the damn instrument or learning how to produce better, or something that like fulfills me just as much.
Hey, Mustin has his kid doing his TikToks.
Yeah, Mustin is smart. He's using the youth.
Smart as hell.
Yeah.
I love that he had his.
Well,
kid
he's not
produce
that
his
smart because he doesn't think Breath of the Wild has good music.
Oh my God! Yeah, you're
as
right.
always,
Don't remind me.
Fuck Mustin.
Well,
He's like, sell me on it.
That's an interesting topic to bring up because of the cover. Like, every time someone says, like, blank game has bad music, it's like, that's fine. My covers aren't, like, at all related to the music to me. Like, and I'm going to phrase this as respectfully as possible, but I was on a different podcast that has an approach that was very, like, unusual to me, which is really cool, and I think a lot of people will like this, where we would listen to, like, a track from the game and then a cover, an arrangement of mine and compare it. And I was like, this never, ever, 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 ever crosses my mind because, again, like I've discovered so many covers from games that I'll never play that I liked. And I think the more transformative you get, the more you appeal to people who are like into hip hop or into metal or into, whatever the cover style is. So, yeah, a lot of people are like, yeah, Breath of the Wild doesn't have good music. And I'm like, I like it. It's larger, a game. It kind of reminds me of like Studio Ghibli movies. There might be like one or two themes that come up, but it's not like nonstop music. Whereas like, I don't know, Pulp Fiction, you're hearing songs and like, it's nonstop. They're just two different approaches. But yeah, to that point again, if you don't like Breath of the Wild's music or if you don't like Zelda, I think my goal is, like, if you just heard my songs, like, you wouldn't know it's from a video game anyway. It's rock and roll. It's pianos and guitars. Like, why would it matter that it's from a game you don't like or a soundtrack you don't like, if that makes sense?
That just, it reminds me of my wedding where people loved all the music that was being played and they had no clue it was all video game shit.
That's awesome.
I mean, yeah, first of all, that's awesome and a great choice. And like, second, I think that's kind of the uphill battle you have in any kind of content creation, podcast, making videos, making music, making art. It's the second you tie it to like a source or like some other IP or something, you benefit because you're like, oh, well, this is Zelda. You love Zelda, so you'll probably love this. And people are like, okay, well, you have me. But now you're like attached to an IP that some people also don't like or, introduce some other controversy. Or you remove yourself from that. Like, Return to the Wild is a Zelda album. It's not a Ro album. Even though, I put a lot of my thought into it. And I think that it sounds like me and blah, blah, blah.
What do you think is the difference between a Ro album and a Zelda album?
Ooh, well, so I guess what I mean is, if I cover Zelda or Metroid or whatever, it is always, always going to be branded differently, and it's not 100% mine. So the way the compositions is still tied to Koji Kondo and to Monica Kataoka and the people who made that, and that's a good thing because yes, I can take advantage of it and sell my album better. People have heard of Zelda, but a Ro album means that, to me, I've derived every aspect. I've written songs. So like when I did my original EP, Project Discover, the entire like source content of, what I'm making is like tied to ideas I come up with, stories I come up with. And especially with the original music I have written, it's kind of tied to like my identity and, my life experiences. So I truly think that one of the hardest parts about doing these covers and, doing video game fan work is that you're never 100% going to be able to like take ownership of it, I guess. And I'm sure there's like a way you can, and I still love all of the cover work I do, but you know, at some point, if I make a Majora's Mask album and like a Wind Waker one, at some point I'm gonna be like Zelda guy, assuming like it's assuming it's successful enough. And I love Zelda, and I like being known as the person with like a lot of Zelda covers. That's cool because it's my favorite franchise. Shocker, but yeah, at the end of the day, this is also a portfolio for like guitar playing and music, and I'm sure if you've ever talked to a musician, you'll be, or if you are one, like you'll know this gripe of, like when people hear your song or see your work and their takeaway is not related to what you want it to be. Like the comments I get on YouTube are far fewer in 2023, but it's very rare someone talks about the guitar playing at all. And it's very rare I get questions from like new artists, or I mean, they don't have to be new, but in general, when people reach out to me, it is like 5% about what I actually do musically. It is 60% about the licensing and if I can help them do the covers and like the logistics. Maybe like 30% about like what I used for like the videos. Which fair enough, I really do take pride in like videography and VFX, and then like a tiny chunk about like the production of music, like mixing and oh cool, what drums did he use, or like what tone is that? And so yeah, like all that to say to your original question is just like a Ro album. I really think like all that there would be to talk about is the musicianship and like the songs and lyrics and stuff like. That's kind of the difference. Now, that's not, again, to say that I don't like making these albums. I freaking love it. I'm on a podcast to talk about it, so dear God, I loved it. Can't get enough of it. But it is something that I really appreciate getting to kind of ramble on there.
You mentioned getting a lot of emails, or, well, you used to at least, whatever. Question. Sure. What's the dumbest email you've ever gotten? Just blew your mind.
Fall
with
into
how
the abyss.
Stupid it was.
My gaping butthole.
Or how ridiculous it was. Quick shout out to Javors and 27 Raiders who just came in.
Ooh,
we were chatting with Ro Panuganti.
I didn't know Javors was here.
And 27 other people. If it was 37, we could have made an in a row joke. We were chatting with Ro Panuganti about his album Return to the Wild. Just asking what the dumbest email he's ever gotten was.
Oh man. So like YouTube comments, you're dumb, meaning like, gosh, I have so many thoughts on so many things. So like,
I mean, if
let's
there's
start.
multiple
Obviously,
routes,
everything
we
like
go down
harassment or like silly, like let's discount all of that. And that's not an email. I don't think people these days have the time to like type out an email and be like, and I'm saying this probably and someone else is getting the brunt of this, but I don't get emails saying like, wow, this sucks. No, that's what YouTube comments are for. And Twitter when you share your opinion.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's all fine and dandy. I don't really want to call that dumb. One challenging and very odd one that I'm comfortable sharing on a podcast is I got emailed by the dad of a musician asking me to break down how I filmed my Water Temple cover of Ocarina of Time. And if you watch this YouTube video of covering the Water Temple, it's me playing guitar in my room, shocker, and I have like a bunch of water spraying on the camera effects. I achieved this by putting like a music stand with like a little plastic thingy and shooting Febreze at it until it looked all drippy. So I like had to try to explain that. I had no idea who this person was. I didn't know their music capability. I explained like, the way my video looks is because of like, the camera is expensive and I did this, and, it would be easier if you like hire somebody. And then the reply I pretty much got was like, thanks. We've got all of the gear, and I'm gonna hire someone else. Here's my son, and apparently he's like some world record holder for the most instruments playable. Which, I mean, like I tried looking it up because I was like, okay, I'll bite. Kid seems interesting. Your dad should not be doing all your work for you, but whatever. Yeah. And I wouldn't call that dumb, but it sure left me kind of dumbstruck. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. And the worst part is I'm like, damn, I could have told him, like, I'm for hire. Like, let me edit that for, like, $10,000 or something. Like, but, yeah, I think that's, like, usually the worst of it. A lot of us get, like, weird endorsements for Amazon products and junk. Sometimes I've gotten, like, really, really cheap guitar endorsements, like, hey, would you like to review this guitar that literally can't stand up on its own? Because and I think that's common for people like who put themselves out there on the internet, grow a little bit from doing 400 albums just over time. But yeah, at the end of the day, I just try my best to be like, all right, unless someone's being like an outright like dick, then people are just in their earnest asking weird questions and trying to learn. And like I said, besides that, a lot of people just know me now as, a heavy endorsee of Sounddrop, and like helping people get their music like distributed and stuff has become like more. That's the thing, like people know me more as than a guitar player now. So I'm trying to like fix some branding.
Oh man, Mustin, by the way, wanted to share a message with you guys. I said that I shot him a message that he came up and he says, "Here we go. Fuck them. That music is trash, except the forest music and that one H village."
He knew I told him off first.
That's actually God. That's fun.
And that,
again, like grudge match.
And that bird traveling merchant guy.
That traveling merchant is sick. Hey, again, I want to talk about. Oh, sorry, God.
No, I mean it's just. I'm so used to like seeing pitchforks up for for people not liking things while I stay silent about the things I do and don't like, that I guess I'm immune to it. Like it's okay if someone doesn't like something. I think like the last like 5 mainline Pokemon games are like boycott worthy bad, and I don't care for Xenoblade Chronicles, and I've seen the whole game. I think it's but it's okay because someone else thinks that it's the greatest thing that's ever happened to them, and they should go make an album and exploit that. But go ahead, please.
Oh, I wanted to ask about your experience with Breath of the Wild. Was there a specific moment or track in that game where you were like, oh man, I gotta cover this one?
So I had kind of made the decision to make the original The Wild like before the game came out, which I think you might find like very, very like, I guess, cocky and like very optimistic, because
like again so much.
I'm gonna love this game and nothing's gonna stop me.
And you did mention Zelda's your favorite franchise
gonna be amazing.
But see, like that's the thing. It could have been a Duke Nukem Forever, just like a lot of people somehow thought Legends Arceus was going to be the greatest Pokemon game, and it wasn't that for me. But with Breath of the Wild, I was convinced. And at the same time, if you recall, of course, there wasn't a lot of promotional material. We saw the E3 trailer that came out, and I think before Breath of the Wild really dropped, we had like no idea what the game was going to feel like, in my opinion. So
no, I think that's accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Lots of questions.
Right. And when I didn't listen to like too many of the songs before the game came out, I think the soundtrack may or may not have leaked, but, when you walk outside for the very first time and you hear that bum, ba-dum, bum, bum, the main theme, something excited me. And yes, awesome. I've played Skyrim, I've played Oblivion, I've played The Witcher. I've played enough games that are open world and beautiful to where I'm like, yes, this has happened before. But when you've played like Link's Awakening was my first Zelda, and you go from that to the transition to Ocarina of Time, and I remember sitting like at 5 years old on the ground in the living room, staring at my big TV of like 20 inches or whatever, and you see Hyrule Field for the first time, knowing how hard it was to beat Goma, like that feeling got recreated for me. And yeah, I think if I had to pick like one track that really like signaled why Breath of the Wild rocked my world, it is kind of that main theme. And honestly, like the only other track on the Return to the Wild that like kind of gives me that shakes of excitement is Hyrule Castle, which of course is, you know, a take on Ballad of the Windfish mixed with Ganondorf's theme. But yeah, I mean, to your question, I think it's just those are the ones that really rocked me as a gamer first, and then as a musician, I was just like, okay, there has to be a way that this can like be adapted to like hard rock and progressive metal style, and still give that same chills.
Word. You mentioned that Awakening was your first Zelda game, is that right?
Yeah, I think so. We were at like Sam's Club and we had a garage sale, and my sister and I like sold a lot of old toys, and then my dad took us to Sam's Club and we bought a Game Boy Color with Link's Awakening in the corner. And then also, I think
Link's Awakening DX probably.
Yes, it was DX, and then we got Pokemon Red, I think, after. It was that or like blue, yeah. Yeah, we borrowed the neighbor's Game Boy for some reason to like show my parents and be like, "Hey, this is a Game Boy. We want one, please."
Did it work?
Yeah, we ended up getting Red, and then we also got Blue, and then slowly got Yellow, of course, and yeah, my gaming journey has pretty much just been like most every Nintendo consoles from there. Cool. And the only one I really had to, like, I skipped was the Wii, because my Wii broke right before college. So I was moving anyway, never got to play Skyward. And then I skipped the Wii U because college.
No money. The only one there.
And yeah, I mean, then I came back on Switch, and now I've played and beat almost every console Zelda.
Nice.
I'm like halfway through Adventure of Link, but I think I need to respect myself and treat myself better and not beat that, because that was tough. That was rough on my brain.
Man, Chris loves that game. Good thing he's not here. He'd go off.
I mean, I think there's so much merit to it when you're like obsessed with Zelda, but as we also discussed, I'm not the best like player of games anyway. So, respect. You know, yeah, it's like you're allowed to be a huge fan of a series you suck at, right? Right? Like,
hey, I love Rock Band, and I can't play a good like eighth of the songs I own because they're too hard.
Yeah, no, you can still have fun. And I mean, like, Zelda does a good job, I think, besides Adventure Link, letting people kind of figure out their kind of pace. So yeah.
I mentioned my child has at least a dozen, 15 hours probably into Breath of the Wild at this point. He has not gotten off the plateau. He has started and restarted. Respect. He just keeps messing around. He is yet to get off the plateau. Whatever, like, man.
I love it. No,
that's like
I never.
Oh no, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was the same way with Banjo-Kazooie because I never beat more than 2 levels, and I'm actually curious if like everyone just has to have a game like that at that age that you don't beat.
Yeah. That would be Echo too for me, which is dating me a bit as well. Hey, was Awakening or like a different Zelda game? How do I want to ask this? Was a Zelda game one of the first soundtracks where you were like, I want to be a musician, or I want to like get involved in recreating this in my own style? So
that's a really great one because yes, but I guess like my like musical career or whatever, it like has everything and nothing to do with games. Like, so the first time I wanted to do VGM of some sort, I think it was Twilight Princess. I was at the segment where Midna's Lament plays, and I'd already like known about game music, you know, like I realized that music was also like playable on things, I guess. And I started on piano when I was 5. I grew up with a lot of like classic rock and whatever was on in the 90s.
Big same.
Yeah, so, naturally you're like, oh, well, piano. But I only learned, like, classical. I didn't know people, like, just learned whatever they felt like. That was, like, heresy. So I would play by ear, like, songs from Banjo-Tooie on piano. That was, like, one of the first ones. But again, like I kind of grew up with a learning curve of like family and environment and friends. So like I was told playing by ear was like bad, and it was like I should stop. And like that kind of sucks big time because it doesn't really, I'm doing this thing that I'm really enjoying, but I'm not going to get any better at it because I feel like shameful for like not properly playing, and that went away over a very, very long time. So like as you asked, I started playing around with, like, I was learning guitar and I was learning all sorts of stuff from Van Halen, Metallica, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Like I wanted to learn everything so that eventually people would, like, I could actually play with a band and people would like me to be in their bands. And of course I screwed that up by starting a YouTube channel where I do everything, and
I never by yourself.
Now you have to start the band.
I mean, the first time I saw you play, because you were with Mariachi Entertainment System at MagFest in 2020, correct?
Yes, you're right.
Yes, so the first time I saw you play was with a band.
Dang, and what a band!
That was.
But
show
him with the deep cuts,
right? And I mean, like that was like maybe the third or fourth time I played like with a band that existed and was like, in that shape besides like little high school skirmish bands. But again, no video game, real music. Maybe like I saw the Halo theme had guitars on it, and the early like nascence of like YouTube back then, you could find, the same 20 guitar players. Just like covering most conventional rock music and popular guitar type stuff, Hendrix and Eruption covers, and I was a little bit a part of that. And once I had stumbled upon on like Newgrounds, Family Jewels' like music was posted there because he was around 2010. That's when I was like, oh, you can produce music at home. Like, again, not a soul at high school told me you could do this. A lot of the musicians wouldn't like talk to me about much things, musical or otherwise. It was nothing like the VGM scene where people are just like super helpful and very excited that there's another person to collaborate with. So from there, I like sent a YouTube message, if you remember that, and I was like, how the hell do you do all of this? And at the time, Jules sent me back like how the hell he did all of that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably like the simplest message ever, but to me, I was like, oh, a human being like responded positively to me wanting to make music. Like this is the start of something. And obviously there was way more people after that surrounding me. So like my first video game cover would have been like Age of Empires theme or something that's like, God, everything in that video is like supremely outdated. Guitar I used was like sold. The shirts I wore were gone. Like that room is like 20 rooms ago. Like I grew a beard since then. So, but yeah, like I think like I built up to wanting to do like Zelda stuff, and like it was just again YouTube, camcorder, like crappy mix, not my best guitar playing, but I started in 2010, 2011, wanting to like get to a point where I could just like make the song and like play the song and have people enjoy it. I didn't know what format that took. I certainly don't think I ever expected I could make an album, without having to pay like $10,000. I truly believed, it's the result of gatekeeping and like, the live world and just not knowing. But yeah, like from there, everything kind of.
Okay, I thought my audio cut out. That was just an awkward pause.
I was just about to say, I think my headphones died.
I take a lot of nice pauses because I know I'm talking a lot.
That's normally what I do around here. So thanks for representing with me.
I was waiting to see if it was just an audio glitch or something, and then you came back and.
I'm sorry to say that I'm at the depths of your YouTube channel from 11 years ago when you covered Bob-omb Battlefield, and I'm impressed that the MediaFire link to download the MP3 still works.
Oh God, no! I got to take that down. That's probably like not the most kosher thing. That is outstanding. I don't even. God, MediaFire must have
with the deep cut.
Like MediaFire is already like 4 forms of hosting files ago. You know what I'm saying? Fantastic.
I couldn't believe I didn't get a virus from clicking on that.
No, you get a virus from listening.
Wait for it.
Yeah. Now I got an MP3 forevermore. Remastered even. It's remastered.
I truly couldn't tell you what I must have done differently to deem it the remaster.
Saved it in 320 instead of 128.
No, in that one, the Bob-omb shoots first, and like I digitally moved his neck to the side.
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Here's something I want to ask about. We only got like 10 minutes before we get to like the review part of the show. Because back in, when was this? Was this 2021? The Paper Mario Origami King concert, and you did some substantial work on that, and that thing is awesome. If people have not watched that, they should look that up. Line them up a Paper Mario, Origami King concert. Could you talk a little bit about like the insanity of that project?
I would love to. So, again, for wonderful listeners, Paper Mario and the Origami King is a Switch title that dropped around that time. And like a lot of the Paper Mario games, it has very little to do with RPG elements. It's just a sweet adventure game. And I personally hold it actually as a game I enjoyed quite a lot. I bought it and I played it. So 2021, everyone's at home. And more importantly, like to set the landscape of VGM again, like for us, a lot of artists who play on soundtracks, who compose, or like myself, just, make their favorite genre versions of games. We're all sitting at home and we can't perform live, and like collaborations have gotten even tougher. And of course,
MagFest was canceled that year. Of course, there was no MagFest.
There was no MagFest that year. And, as a noteworthy exclusion, like there wasn't any, at that point, like any virtual sort of event ongoing. We would eventually get things like Ongaku Overdrive and Bonus Stage, which are like 2 great events where they do like a night of streams, from different performers, and it's absolutely awesome. But before then, again, like people were just like, shoot, now what? So I feel like there was just like a general, like people weren't really connected. There's a lot of like labels and groups, yes. But I get this message around, let's say August, from Robbie DeGay of the Game Brass. And the Game Brass is a wonderful band. They're a great group. And they make hilarious music videos, something that we kind of share in common. We love green screens and effects and, just making like fun video game music videos. So Robbie says, hey, I've got this idea, going on with the band Disco Cactus, who, again, I know people from MagFest, but I hadn't gotten to work with them very much. And he said, like, we might want to have you maybe do sitar on stuff and maybe guitar. And I was like, well, that sounds cool. And, like, Disco Cactus at that point especially had, like, mostly played, live at MagFest and then done a few music videos, and I thought they were really funny. They're a super talented group of friends, so I was like, yeah, like let's see what's going on. They tell me we're gonna make a 20-minute medley of Paper Mario music, and we'd like to have a squad of like arrangers who pick a bunch of songs from the game, kind of like go through the whole game story. We just arbitrarily chose that game, and we'd also like to have a very diverse like range of musicians and some all-star guests from around, the video game scene itself, composers. And so I was like, okay, that sounds cool. Like, what do you need me to do? And originally it was going to be like this 20-minute video, which is not as scary. And they were like, yeah, we'll just, have you arrange a track. And it kind of spiraled to where we were like, okay, 20 minutes, you need more editors. So I ended up taking what I would assume is like a third of the sections of a 40-minute music video with like tons and tons of people involved. And what I like to champion as the most crucial distinction of this project, we had like an actual quota-ish, like we were dedicated to make this 50% non-male and make sure it was BIPOC represented properly and that every track would be as best as possible arranged. So like with sitar, I played guitar like for 16 years. Sitar, I've played that thing for like cumulative 10 hours. Like I'm ass at it. But you know, I'm the only person that people seemingly know has one and is trying to learn. So, you know, we took great care to make sure like that instrument worked, that automaton would work. Like, and we started like pulling in favors left and right. Grant Kirkhope, can you play for us? Austin Wintory, David Wise, freaking the voice of GLaDOS, Joe Zija, like, you know, famous streamers started pulling in, Will Roger, and again, with more people came, I got copied on every invite email.
Oh my God.
Laura and Trivia was like, yeah, you know, just so that they can ask you about video questions and angles or like how to do green screen. Like, what would you say to that? So I got like emails all the freaking time and like reply all deaths about everything. And yeah, we just started adding cool sections. I did one of the last ones with, and I like kind of tried to grab a few people. I was like, could I have like Trey Watson play bass on my section? Because I've always wanted to work with them. And Grant Kirkhope is like easily my favorite video game composer. So I was like, could I get Grant to play the guitars? Like, could I call dibs? You know, and again, I brought in some new faces to the community, like Rahul Venamali, killer drummer. I got 8-bit drummer. I got, you know, as many people as possible while, you know, being generous. And from there, we started like, we got all the audio in. It was mixed. And we started just like pulling in tons of green screen addled sessions. You know, we wanted to put all the players together. And it was just weeks of people asking me like, hey, can we do this crazy effect? And how about we do this crazy effect? And me saying like, we don't have time, but like, could we simplify it? And that's the working relationship I've had with Disco Cactus, because I shot their music video for You're Lost last year as well. So like we worked together quite a bit since. But yeah, eventually video came out. It's 40 minutes. It's got 500,000 views, which is like, wow, 500,000 times more views than I could have ever pictured me getting. And it's, you know, it's just like this work of heart. I was working on call like the same week that it was due. So I was just like not sleeping. It was just insanity. And again, like I was so happy because I got to edit it. I got to play guitar in it as well. I got to like really show all of my like comfortable skills. I met so many people, and easily the most important part of that video, I ended up finding Allison Martin, who is now my wife. So yeah, she was invited to the project.
Very nice.
Yeah, via someone finding her YouTube channel, and she started out just like, you know, many people in 2020, I think 2020, you know, coming back, she moved from Japan. She taught there for 6 years, and she's a killer musician, but she doesn't know where to play live, and, you know, it's hard. So she started a YouTube channel, and yeah, someone tagged her in for this video, and then she slipped into my DMs afterwards.
Yo, that's awesome. I love this.
Yeah, and that was, God, that was just about 2022. When did this video come out?
2021. March 13th, 2021.
That's right. Yeah. Okay, thank you. So, yeah, that was way back in 2021, 2 years ago. So,
feels like a lifetime ago.
There she is in chat. But,
amazing. Oh, what up?
And yeah, like we've watched the video together and kind of gone over it, and we're still ecstatic that like, oh my God, like I'm in the same video as like this person, like this person has like this incredible spot, and you know, 15 years from now, like half of the video, I promise you this, half of that video will be like famous musicians appearing on more and more game soundtracks or film scores. There'll be composers. Hopefully nothing bad happens to me. So, you know, the video is still watchable.
Hopefully. Yeah, no, I've watched it a bunch of times. Like I'm always picking out things and people that I'm like, oh, I recognize that person now, and I'm more familiar with their work. And I pulled the audio so I can have it on my phone. I adore that game and the soundtrack, so I love this thing.
Yeah, it's really special how that all came together, and just to like tie this all back again, like this wasn't just how I met Allison, but like it's how a lot of bands seem to have gotten started, and like quite a lot of groups have met thanks to it, and I found like new players to work with as a result. And actually, one of the other things I get to do now is oh gosh, it's Grant.
What up, Grant?
Yo,
what's up, buddy?
I was just gonna sneak in, but nope, that's fine.
Slide in here.
Ro's making a point. I don't want to kill the point.
And that's why I absolutely cannot stand this Stemage
We'll see y'all later.
guy.
Peace out.
Yeah, all right.
Stemage.
We're letting it out.
Stemage. Yeah, you remember
Yeah. We already dropped Mustin on the show. Time to take out Metroid Metal.
He dropped himself. Oh my god.
Oh man.
Well, we have time.
Mustin did have another message. He said, "Why doesn't Zelda ever use his internet search to find links?"
Oh my god, that's how you know he's a dad.
We're gonna have to deal with that later.
LOL. Do we have time for one more question from me?
We have time for whatever.
Really quick. All right, hell yeah. How about 3 more questions? I'll just play. I heard you were coming on the show. I checked your music out. You are impressively prolific. You got a lot of stuff up. I've listened to 3 albums now. I've enjoyed them a lot, by the way. That's why I'm here tonight. It's actually an honor to meet you. Anyway,
I guess I shall say yes. I do like Return of the Wild. Return of the Wild is good, by the way. I do like it.
Okay. Well, I want to like. Where was I? Okay, so you have so many albums. If someone were to start with just one of your albums, other than your Breath of the Wild stuff, or your Return to the Wild, your choice of their first impression, what would you have them start with?
Oh man, I unfortunately have like a pretty rough streak of like, I don't know, like of myself, because I always think the next album is the one that has, cleaner production, or
I feel that.
But okay, just like let's take out Zelda. In 2020, I made an Undertale album called Fallen Hero, and
I was listening to that earlier today. It's so good.
Oh, thank you. That's the one I think I would share. Not because, again, I think Return to the Wild, of course, whatever the newest one is usually my favorite, because I'd like to think I learned from it. But this one was made because, I was suggested by a friend to make it at the beginning of 2020. We had breakfast at MagFest, and I was like just inspired. And that year was going to be like, my ocean. And then I like around March, I'm like working from home forever now. I'm still going to make the album though. So through all of that, I still kept on working on it. I invited it's 24 tracks, so it really does push that, as I was saying, like the Pink Floyd, the Wall-E kind of thing. The album artwork's actually inspired by Between the Buried and Me. But I think it's it shows like the diversity of like some of the acoustic music and bluesiness that I like, that like feelsy ambient stuff, the heavy metal, and I feel like the range of like music that I've gotten into and the kinds of guitar work that I like is better represented on a game that's also kind of bizarrely diverse. So I would definitely share that one, and I'm actually kind of in works of doing something to that album in the near future that I can't quite say, but
fall into the abyss
kind of revisit
of my gaping butthole.
It's not going to be Return to the Fallen Hero. I'm not letting.
Why not?
Do you have any upcoming projects you can discuss? And shout out to Dopey, who just rated us with 26 more viewers. I'm sorry to all of you, but we were chatting with Ro Panuganti. We've got, I think the whole crew is here now. They've slowly trickled in.
Yeah.
Yes. We've got Pernell and Chris joining us now. Grant is here. Ro, I had a question for you. With the Paper Mario thing, you collaborated with so many people. Who's left that you really want to work with?
Oh, man. honestly, like, well, first of all, Stemage is here, so Stemage.
We should let's do something. We can have it done by the weekend. It could be like a 10-second song, you know.
I would happily do a 10-second song. Literally just send.
Cover the cooking jig.
Guitar Man.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Guitar versus guitar. Do it. Do it.
Well, so I guess like one of the things is like first and foremost, like I freaking love the idea of collaborating, and I want to do it as much as possible. Just as any other seasoned musician will say, like there are a lot of musicians I freaking love, but I probably would not like be the best like working person for them. Like I always fear like I'm like not going to be like the best for like the chemistry of working with some people or vice versa. So I sweat when I say that, but the Paper Mario thing, I edited a lot of people and I worked with the Disco Cactus crew, and that was amazing. So there's just a lot of folks that I probably haven't done like, I don't know. I feel like if someone just shoots me a message and I like haven't heard of them before, that would be just as exciting. And just in the community in general, there's just a lot of folks that I probably should work with. Hey, I'll work with Mustin. I don't think I've gotten to do music with Mustin. Why not?
That'd be awesome.
And
maybe
I definitely want to play.
His soul.
I can save his soul.
You can do it.
I also want to play live with more musicians for sure, and I'm definitely trying to get a little bit more of a foothold into like indie composers and like playing guitar with people's composition. I think that would be a really cool new avenue. And with like there's so many good games that are coming out that use like electric guitar, and there's one game called Venba coming out based on like South Indian cooking, and I really want to work on whatever they do next, because
awesome.
Dear God, that is like as accurate a recreation of like growing up second gen that I've ever seen in video games or media.
I'm not familiar with that one. I'll have to look that one up.
I saw a trailer for it. Is it out?
Yeah. The demo's out and it's coming out end of next month. So I'm gonna cook up a storm. I'm gonna like promote the hell out of that for him. That's gonna be a lot of fun.
That looks cool. I like the art style in it too.
I have a comment for Brooke's question about stuff to check out. I feel like Ro is a king of the single. Keep that in mind as well, not just albums. So it would be a good idea to just go and just skim whatever service you use. Just skim the list of singles. There's so much cool stuff in here. There's one I've always been a big fan of your Water Temple.
Thank you.
Because it's very heavy. Yeah. It's very heavy Debbie, which is my shit. Also, there's a really good cover of On It from Earthbound that like you haven't done
nice.
you have a lot of individuals, you know what I mean? A lot of like one-off.
Individuals, I love that.
So
great, because like it's the YouTube in me.
I was about to say I don't know if he has a whole YouTube channel. There's tons of stuff on here.
Of course, of course.
That's pretty much why I have all the singles, is because like we would come up with like a funny video idea and then just go from there and then make the song. But thank you. No, I was telling them a story earlier. Someone emailed me, a dad emailed me about the Water Temple music video, because he wanted to know how I did like all the video effects or whatever. And I was like trying to explain all that, but
that's funny.
No, I appreciate the high praise there. And I definitely recommend, the same question, like what album would I show them? I would be like, go on YouTube and watch me. I recreated Neon Genesis Evangelion's intro shot for shot. I think that's the portfolio I want people to remember me for. And that's it.
That's all.
That's all.
Just that.
No question.
Oh, man. Well, I know we have been chatting for a while. Ro, is there anything you wanted to talk about that we didn't bring up?
No, I mean, the big thing, of course, when anyone releases an album is... just humongous thank you to, like 15, 16 people who are involved besides me to make that thing. Return to the Wild has Alan Brash, first and foremost. He runs the label Game Grooves. And Alan, personally, like, whenever I make an album, Alan gets the first copy and tells me the song order ideas he has, and he helps distribute it. And more, just as important, of course, he encourages me to do this in the first place. And I feel like having a friend like that and having someone that integral to like making the thing happen, that matters a lot, especially like when you're, sitting at home and you're like not going into a studio. Again, EXE-CREATE and Concert did incredible album art, James Hoffman's mastering, and then of course just myriads of collaborators from the game scene, like String Player Gamer killed it. David Eric Ramos was like the first person I ever saw on YouTube make music. Joe Zija, who's done fantastic voice work for Fire Emblem and a bunch of games, did the Ganondorf voice on Hyrule Castle.
Oh my gosh, cool.
That's
yeah,
awesome.
So one of the things from the Paper Mario project I wanted to share, of course, is like Joe found me through that, and I became his full-time editor for music videos and some of his voice acting academy videos and some other gags. And that's been a fantastic, very fun kind of gig to just have this guy who's just like incredibly gifted with his voice doing like all these comedy gags and of course, saxophone music, and everyone's just like interconnected as hell.
Well, where can people buy your music?
You can check out most of my albums on ropanuganti.bandcamp.com.
Nice.
Including Return to the Wild. So we've got DGs, and we also have CDs, which is exciting. For those listening under 20, a CD is a disc that plays music, but it also looks nice on your shelf, which is probably how everyone uses. That's all I use them for. And of course, you can find them on Apple Music, Spotify. Most of my albums will have songs that have music videos on YouTube. So I try to do a lot of VFX heavy, crazy, wacky videos, and sometimes I play guitar in them. So you can find them on there too.
And on Mediafire.
Oh my god! Apparently, although if Mediafire is listening, I'm so sorry. I was a child. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just innocent.
Tim's digging up your dirt.
The dirt that I have a Mediafire link on a 12-year-old Mario cover.
Yeah, you're
I really hope that's the worst of it. Is what I have to say to that.
Oh man, well, does anyone else have any other questions? Chris, Pernell, anything on your end? Did you want to ask?
Oh, Chris is.
They lost their chance. What's your favorite Ghibli soundtrack? You mentioned Ghibli earlier. No, just playing. Sorry, Chris. You can go ahead.
Oh no, I was just unmuting.
Okay, what's your favorite Ghibli soundtrack?
Kiki's Delivery Service has
very nice.
Howls. I cry at the beginning of Kiki's Delivery Service every single time now.
Respect.
But I guess it should be Howls or Spirited Away. This is a hard question.
That's a hard call between the two. I can see it. Yeah.
I'm already getting teary thinking about it. It's a problem.
Gosh.
I don't understand.
Cool.
Oh man, well Ro, we are going to let you get going. We have a lot more show we got to take care of. I want to thank you so much for coming on, chatting with us. We're going to end the show with some music from you. What would you like us to play?
Oh man, gosh. Well, off Return to the Wild, I think a fun one is Shrine or Kass theme.
Shrine's rad. I like Guardian too because it's in 6/8. I'm a sucker for swing metal.
Oh man,
love that. But yeah, but Shrine is incredible. Shrine goes everywhere.
Yeah, Shrine's cool. It's got acapella VGM. He sent me like 42 vocal tracks and incredible ideas. Someone else that you absolutely have to check out. But
I think we did Guardian on the last episode, so we'll play Shrine and a couple other songs. I'm going to throw Gerudo Valley on there, or Gerudo Town on there, because that was awesome. And the end of that song where it just gets, oh man, it's so good.
Oh,
it's heavy.
Dummy. What was that? Heavy Debbie?
Heavy Debbie.
It's like drop E flat or something stupid.
Yeah.
Well, this has been wonderful, and I really appreciate getting to chit chat and talk intellectually about why Mustin is wrong about Breath of the Wild soundtrack, but why we love him anyway.
Oh, I missed it. Oh, now I gotta go listen to the whole thing. I love this.
Told you to come on earlier, Grant. You could have been there.
I know. I would have. What if I could have? Ro, great record, man. Killer record. Great show at VGM Con.
Thank you so much.
And thanks for all the tech support.
Appreciate it.
I told Joe you're my You're my like sound drop tech support guy on the side.
Oh yeah, he mentioned that.
It's okay. Just let someone from Sounddrop know that I'm
I know.
like unpaid devoted intern.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, well, Ro, thank you again for joining us. Do you have any final words before we let you go?
Tears of the Kingdom is very, very fun, and
oh man,
that's all.
That's some controversial.
Enjoy rock and roll
right
music.
Hell yeah.
Take care, Ro. You have yourself a good night.
All right, take care, everybody.
Nice to
Good
meet
night.
you.
Later, buddy.
Night.
All right.
Hey, we did it.
Yeah, want to talk about anything else, or should we dive into reviews?
That fucking
let's
Ro.
That guy. Let's ask Pernell how he is doing this week.
Damn
so
it.
I can have like
Brooke.
so I can have 2 minutes to look over my notes because I'm a little nervous.
I wasn't going to do it.
I was literally just sitting here thinking, like, I'm just like, I want to see if Joe asked him.
Oh, you're right. Actually, I forgot about that, and I deeply failed you tonight. And I'll be
okay.
trying
You're
to make
forgiven.
up for it. Thank you.
I love you.
Brooke, how about you ask? That way I'm not responsible.
Pernell, I see you're reviewing popular Otome game Amnesia later tonight. I really hope you enjoyed it. Just want to say.
Set off the Pernell conversation tangent line.
Yeah. How you doing, man?
Oof. Yeah, that's a bad day to ask that question. But
oh no.
Okay. Wow.
There will be reviews to do, so I will get through those. But I appreciate that you inquired.
Okay, gotcha. Hope it
broadly speaking, because I know there's going to be news on Thursday on the show. How's everyone feeling about like the game reveals of the past like 4 or 5 days?
Doing?
What game reviews?
Brooke, you're supposed to be reviewing your notes.
Oh yeah, you're right. I get excited. I kept muting.
What game reveals?
I always get sad when the whole like festival is over. It happens every E3. You know, it's like it's just a deluge for several days and watching the Giant Bomb at Night stuff and seeing interviews, and then it's just like poof, gone. It's just no more news. It's like, all right, well, that was a good one.
Yeah, but they've been fun so far.
Hockey.
And there's so many of them.
What up?
Hey, how you doing?
Everyone is here except Jacob.
Yeah, there's so many random like game presentations like around this time of year. From
in general.
It's like Capcom's going to do their little thing, and then there's like a cozy game thing over here, and then there's the indie game thing over here, and there's a PC game thing over here, and sometimes this company's going to do something, and there's just like so many, I can't.
So hard to keep track of them all.
It's impossible to keep up with.
There were so many that I figured I wouldn't watch most of them, so I only really sat and watched the Xbox conference. Real quick shout out to Dino Rhino. It's his birthday today. So how are you doing, Dino?
Happy birthday.
Good seeing you in chat. What did the people in chat think about the Xbox conference? We're going to talk about that on Thursday more
in detail
during the normal news wrap up. But in general, I thought it was a really good showing.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good stuff. There's been a lot of stuff that I just don't give a shit about, but there's been a lot of good stuff too.
Yeah, there was a lot of games that just looked the same. This like fantasy magic particle porn stuff, and I know it's for someone, but it's not quite for me. But there was so much cool stuff, indie stuff, and that Starfield info dump was insane. And
yeah, that was like over an hour long, I think. It was
wild. It just kept going.
Yeah.
I didn't watch that because I'm just like, well, it's on Game Pass. I'm just going to play. I'll discover it all myself. My thing is just like, I am so ready for so much of what Xbox has cooking to be closer to release.
Yeah,
because like I feel like there's so many things they announced like 2 or 3 years ago, and now it's like it's still all that stuff you've been waiting on, except for like Starfield is coming next. It's still next year. We had that whole conversation when we were talking about. Me, you, Aki, Jacob, we're trying to guess like what might come out, later in 2023, and the answer was none of it. None. It was zero.
Yeah,
we were wrong. If you said yes, anything was going to come out, we were completely fucking wrong.
Yeah, I knew nothing was going to come out. I was like, no.
It's just a bummer because I really just wanted Hellblade 2 to come out this year, but but next year should be a banger. And my wife is a huge Fable fan, and she was like, she watched that thing and she was like, that's it? Because she's just ready to know more. No, not what. It's like it just doesn't, tell you much about the game. Like, what is it? You're just running from a giant? Or, like, she's ready to see more.
I wanted
in greater detail about what it is.
That trailer was what finally sold me.
I'm sold on nothing for that game right now.
Oh, Playground, man, I'm sold on it. So
I've never played any of them, so I was never particularly interested. But that trailer, I was like, oh, I kind of want that now.
In my eyes, Playground hasn't made a bad game, so I'm giving them all the benefit of the doubt on this one.
I'm not that nice.
I just think Playground has a solid pedigree when it comes to games.
I'm trying to think what.
Granted, it's based around racing.
Oh, they just made a. Oh yeah, I don't like any of the Forzas. Well, yeah,
they're
whatever.
The Horizon
they have not made a non-Forza Horizon game. Come on, man.
Well, this is their chance.
Yeah. We'll see.
And I think it looks good eventually. So far.
Yeah, I don't think there's. I mean, it's more than that little tease they showed, whatever, 2-3 years ago. But it's. I'm still left wanting, but I'm just ready for more. I'm just ready for more from them. So that's why I was like a bit underwhelmed by the whole thing, because I'm ready for the next step for just something.
I still have 2 shows I have to watch. I still need to watch the Capcom and the fucking Ubisoft ones. There's so much.
I didn't watch either of them, and I don't think I'm going. Like, I saw the Ubisoft one; it was 2 hours long. I'm just like,
the Capcom one's like an hour and a half.
Yeah, I just click them, and then I have my finger on the right arrow key, and I just pop, and look for something.
Yeah, that's probably exactly what I'm going to do. Is I'm just going to wait until I see something that looks like a video game, and then I'm going to stop and be like, okay, let's watch a trailer.
That was the thing. I care about. Metaphor Refantasio, the new Atlas Persona team game. That game looks
the new Persona game
cracked.
That Capcom game, the sort of. It's like Rise of the Goddess or something. It's like the super colorful, but disturbing, perhaps.
Kitsugami, Path of the Goddess?
Yeah, Path of the Goddess.
Path of the Goddess, Thank you. Yeah, it just looks insane. Like it's hard to know how that game plays, but boy, is it beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
I want that so bad. It looks so good.
Neon White got announced for Game Pass, which I've been waiting on. So
nice.
I'm okay. A lot of stuff coming to game. It's ridiculous how much stuff was announced this past week coming to Game Pass.
Yeah,
it's almost criminal.
There will be plenty to play this year, but the big boys, we're gonna have to wait a little longer. I thought that Prince of Persia game looked pretty incredible too.
And
everyone that played it says it's super fun.
Oh, good. Yeah, because I saw that and I'm like, I don't know if this is the kind. I desperately have wanted a new Prince of Persia for years, and when I saw that, I was like, I don't know, I want it to be that. So it's good to hear that people liked it, that played it.
Yeah, there's some mechanic where you can leave a copy of yourself behind and then warp back to it, either for exploration reasons or combat reasons. Nice. And it looks really neat. So that'll be
Is there actual rewind stuff in it, or did they take that out?
Well, there's some stuff where like you can see the environment reforming. It's hard to say for sure, but I mean, I'm sure that's got to be part of it, right? And that's kind of the
one would hope so. But you would think that in the trailer that would be like one of the prominent things. Oh, you watch time rewind and nothing, and I was kind of scared.
Yeah, we'll see, but that'll be a fun way to start the year, hopefully.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Anyway,
all right, Brooke, you ready?
Brooke, you ready? Should we dive into reviews?
I'm ready. Let's dive in. Yeah, the time was generous. Thank y'all.
It's like I threw it on a smoke screen, then she turned on an industrial fan for a second.
And then I was like, got too excited about the answers. Right. It's like, Brooke, focus. And I'm like, oh my God, thank you.
All right. Well, we're starting off with you because the first game to talk about is Jeanne. Is that the right way to say it?
It is Jack Jeanne. And just heads up, if you see me muting, my throat's still kind of recovering from COVID. So if I pause, I'm probably just coughing furiously, and I'll be back very soon. Just heads up there.
So any awkward pauses in this review, that's why. So Jack Jeanne, developed by Broccoli, published by Aksys Games, released June 15th on the Switch for $49.99. Issa is about to abandon her dream of becoming an actor when she's given the opportunity to enroll at the prestigious Univale Drama School. She's granted admission with 2 conditions: be chosen as the lead in the final performance and hide her identity as a girl. Competition at the school is fierce and the rivalry is real. Brooke, what is going on in this one?
Lots going on here. You may have noticed on Twitter recently, I have been speculating whether this game, Jack Jeanne, is now my favorite Otome game of all time. If you know me here, there, or in real life, where it's a lot less cool to be into coming-of-age anime dating games as a woman in my 30s, you know I played a lot of Otome games, so that's quite the statement. I played most major releases on consoles and Steam, tons of mobile games, and this whole genre is just chock full of games I adore, which are incredibly important to me, so... Very intense thing for me to even be speculating about with this new release, but within 20 hours of playing this game, and it's a much, much longer game than that, and I have clocked a lot more time now. I was pretty sure it was at least tied for top spot with Amnesia, which has held the top Otome spot for me for about 9 years now. Amnesia is the game in which Toma lives. He used to be my husband. Pernell, I see, is covering this game for us a little later in the show. Pernell, I hope you love him just as much as I did. Anyway.
Are they the same Amnesias?
No, this is a really bad joke. I know it's not the same Amnesia. I'm sorry, everybody.
I wasn't sure if they were or not. I'm like, that's
I write these.
That was a good joke. I laughed. Don't worry about it.
Thank you for no. Always can count on you. I write these awkward little jokes in my notes. Sometimes I chicken out before I read them out loud. But no.
Never chicken out.
Me.
Never chicken out.
Thank you, bud. But yeah, it's Jack Jeanne, my favorite Otome game. It's kind of unfair to even wonder that for the Otome genre, because Jack Jeanne isn't just a visual novel with social choices only, and a branching plot separated into 5 or 6 routes of anime guys we can pretend to date as the story progresses. Jack Jeanne is a visual novel. It does have the anime dudes, it's got their routes, in a little less of a traditional but very fulfilling sense. But it's also a school life sim and a resource management game with daily options for stat building across hundreds of in-game days. Lots of Otome games do not have this, but some do. Alistair and Backstage Pass featured these mechanics, and I'm guessing they serve as major inspiration for Jack Jeanne doing it here. But Jack Jeanne is also being marketed as a rhythm game, because it is. It's actually got 2 different types of rhythm games in it. Let's talk about why and how this works, and what this game is even doing with all that. Like Joe said, Jack Jeanne is a game about you, a young girl who's grown up in the shadow of her older brother, who became a renowned actor during his time at Univale, an elite all-boys high school where aspiring musical actors are trained to dance, sing, act, and 3 other stats we can raise by going to class. But more on that in a minute. Ever since you were a little kid, both you and your brother really wanted to become famous actors, and really wanted to go to Univale. He's a few years older than you. He's now been there and done that, and rose to some fame as an acting genius. Now that you are entering your high school years, you're of the age to realize how crazy that dream really was for you, because you could never be admitted into this all-boys drama school. Or can you? One day, the mildly creepy and, in my opinion, very sexy principal comes at you on the street out of nowhere. Don't worry, this is not one of the characters you can date, much to my dismay. Anyway, you don't even know who this guy is. You're about to be all stranger danger, but he goes, wait, I know your older brother. I'm the principal of Univale Drama School, and I have a proposition for you. How'd you like to go to my school? Kind of unfolds, as Joe said, from here, but he's also offering you the deal of a lifetime. He'll pay for you to go. He'll also help support your family you're leaving behind financially if you do, because you weren't even going to go to high school. You're going to have to get a full-time job as a teenager to support your parents. But to get all this, you have to follow his conditions. You can't let anyone know you're a girl at the school. You don't have to just pass your classes in the coming year. You have to excel, get noticed, and secure a lead role in the famous end-of-year performance Univale always holds for the public, which is a feat unheard of for a first year, except, of course, when your older brother did it and made some major waves. So why are you doing this, principal? He says that while he is one of the leaders of the school, none of the other leaders will agree with him that they should open up the school to both male and female students, and that this tradition of only training male students to play all the male and female roles when women are just as talented is silly. He wants to shake up the system and make everyone admit that girls can play male and female roles just as well as the boys can. He believes you can be the first step in showing that to everyone. And ultimately, even though this entire situation is really freaking weird, you believe this too. So here you are now, you're at the school. The school year has begun. Every day you conceal your gender, you try to make friends, you work really hard in your classes, and you are choosing what classes to take and what stats to focus on every day, to build up a range of 6 stats, some more important than others, depending on what you're trying to do in any given run of this game. So, where do the rhythm games come in, and why do we have them? Well, this is a musical acting school. In each play you're cast in throughout the school year, this is 5 performances. You have to not only act, but also sing and dance. One rhythm game represents singing, and it's very different from the rhythm game that represents dancing. It's really cool at first. It's really fun. It's super engaging. It actually causes this game to be, as I said, marketed as not only an otome game, visual novel, but a rhythm game as well. So yeah, there you are. You're having fun dancing and singing to the background music y'all use in the practice rooms, and it's really neat. Then you have your first performance on stage. And it's not just the simple background music from the practice rooms anymore. By the way, increasing your dancing or singing stat by selecting those classes more makes the games easier, gives you a little more wiggle room IRL for hitting those rhythms. And also, there are several difficulties you can change to for each rhythm game at any time in the game. So I find these rhythm games to be very challenging for me, but also pretty generously accessible for those who want less of a challenge of the rhythm parts, just want to get to more story. But let me get back to where I was going with this. When you're finally performing in these games as songs on the stage, everything changes. It's not just background music playing now. It's the voice actors for your player character you're playing. All of the characters performing with you, singing the songs, and they're dancing, because suddenly there are 3D models of every 2D character you've been getting to know, and they're not even wearing their normal school clothes, of which they have like a million outfit changes, by the way. They're wearing costumes for the characters they're playing. Those costumes are different for each play. Their hair is done differently. Their makeup they have makeup on suddenly. And then if you're like me, you suddenly can't concentrate on the rhythms on the screen because you are weeping with how freaking beautifully this is done and how good of a job you and your other classmates. I really started crying first song. And it was like a funny song. It's not even an emotional song. I start crying because I'm like, oh my God, my fellow classmates have come so far. They're so good now. It's very, very emotional to realize that the first time on stage, what the rhythm games are really there for, what the performances are going to look like in real time. And it makes you feel like you're up there, man. It makes you realize how different it is to practice something by yourself alone in a room versus performing it decked on stage with a whole group of your closest friends who have made so much progress with tons of people watching y'all. But don't cry for too long, it gets easier. You can save right before the rhythm games, even during the performances, and just bomb the first time because you're going to be overwhelmed seeing everything happen and seeing those 3D models for the first time. It's okay. But let's switch gears again and revisit this question. Why is this my favorite otome game? Because ultimately, now that I've played it more, yeah, it actually is. But also, why does that feel unfair to say or even compare to other otome games? This is an enormous project. Most otome games, the major releases, you're clocking anywhere from 20 to 60 hours on the higher end. Normally not quite that. This game is far, far bigger than those games, so it's kind of
How many hours
fair.
have you put into it, Brooke?
You could check my my Switch since you're my friend on there. And
I did. You're at 95 hours on this game.
Wow. That's pretty good. Some of that I did walk away, but a lot of that is actually me. I think I'm actually over. I think I'm probably 40 hours in this game. I love this game. And it's my favorite type of game. But anyway, normally we're clocking 60 hours on the higher end for most otome quote-unquote games. Normally not quite that. This game's far, far bigger. It's not fair to those games. In addition to the budget, just for amount of written content, this game has an insane visual budget. It was designed by Sui Ishida, who you might recognize the name of because he is the artist and mastermind behind Tokyo Ghoul. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right. Shojin X. And if you are a Hunter x Hunter fan, however we're supposed to say that, he published a really amazing one-shot prequel that is in Shonen Jump that focuses on the character Hisoka. And he designed this game, and he gave it his absolute all to a staggering degree. This game has far, far, far more sprites, outfit changes, hair changes, makeup changes than I've ever seen in a visual novel. Let's not even count the 3D models that come out for the performances in this, which largely isn't a thing at all in this genre. It's not fair to compare this to other games that don't have as much content, but are still beautiful, informative games. This game has maybe over 100 CGs. I don't know how many yet, but it's so many. It's unlike anything I've ever seen. And the art is breathtaking. The stat building and schedule management, which a lot of these games don't have, is not only here, but it has purpose. It's immersive. It pulls you right into school life, and it makes you feel like it's really happening to you. When we hear the term choices matter, we hear that all the time when it comes to narrative branching games. It's normally not that many choices. You may make 10 to 30 real choices in a route, in a normal otome, amare, what have you. And oftentimes when we examine the plot maps for these games, the choices didn't actually matter that much. Or at least they don't change a lot of the content around your experience through the game itself, except outside of maybe what ending you get. This game, I mean, how many choices does it have? Hundreds? Maybe 1,000? My brain can't comprehend, but it's just an exponential explosion to what I'm used to. You can end up in a route and you may just never see many parts of it, even if you get the same ending as someone else did that when they made kind of similar choices. This is incredibly rare for the genre, or I would argue any branching narrative game that is defining itself as such. It's also just got a plot that is absolutely incredible. It is one of my favorite things I've ever read across media, games, books, whatever. I laughed so much. I cried so much sometimes when nothing bad was happening because I was just so moved at how cool the game is, how socially important it's going to be, how it approaches gender, and how we feel as a society about a ton of just different gender-centric social issues, which is one of the closest issues to my heart that there could be. But I think people are going to enjoy this whether or not they're like that. Finally, I'm obsessed with several of the love interests and lots of the other characters at this point, this is important for these romance games. The character development is spectacular. I think the romance development in and out of the LI routes in this game is excellent. But more than anything, probably my personal favorite reason this is now my favorite Otome game is the character Kokito Neji. Neji Senpai, he's my new purple husband, and he's just... wow. Yeah, there are no words. He's a complicated man. He's a purple guy. He has purple hair. He wears purple clothes. And in Otome games, there's a little bit of color coding that we'll go into on another episode. But yeah, Otome fans, if you're wondering if the romance is here, I'm going to love him until I die. And if you know, you know. So yeah, it's my fave Otome game of all time because it's not just an Otome game. It's so much more. But even if it were just the visual novel parts, it would definitely still be very up there for me because of the high quality of the narrative content, the gorgeous art of Ashita, which I mean, goodness. Joe, are you ready to go into rating here? Because you know what I'm going to give it, but I have a couple.
I think I know your verdict on this one, but you say the game has tons of choices. There's only one people got to make, and that is, should they buy this?
That very seamless. Love that. Yeah, it's a $50 game. Unless you win SML's giveaway with Aksys for this game, you could win a Switch Coder Bronze Limited Edition. You can find that in SML tweets. Anyway, it's obviously a buy it. I think it's a clean, screaming buy it on fire with like glittering rainbow explosion or whatever. Here's when you shouldn't buy it if you're an Otome fan, because this game is doing some different stuff. 1, if you're not comfortable playing as a boy and establishing like tension-filled borderline friendships and possibly relationships with boys, they think that you are male. And some of them are starting to feel pretty confused about that. I love it. And there's a lot of overlap between Otome and the BL community. So I know that I'm not the only one who's going to be fine with that. But it needs to be said because these games are romance games. 2, if you're not comfortable as a woman with romancing male characters who play both male and female roles on stage and off stage when they're method acting, most of whom will definitely be wearing dresses and makeup for large chunks of the game. This game is called Jack Jeanne because the students are, for the most part, separated into Jacks, who play the male characters on stage, and the Jeannes, who typically have a slighter build and a higher voice. But the Jeannes you may or may not choose to romance in this game, they all identify as male. Some of them are really masculine personality-wise. Some of them aren't. But this game is doing some serious bending of the rules of gender roles, traditional relationships, especially for this genre. I think this is going to be a plus and exciting for like 99% of Otome fans, because even the more effeminate characters you may build relationships with, there's still a lot of traditional Otome and shoujo level like goodness going on here. And you don't need to play everyone's route in this game if some of them aren't your thing. Few folks will even have the time to play all the scenarios in this game. I was talking to a time-traveling themed YouTuber on Twitter about this game. She's played it in Japanese. She's clocked over 200 hours. She hasn't seen all the scenarios.
Ow.
I will say that if you're squeamish about all the gender...
That was an insane sentence, by the way. I just want to make that, yeah.
Thank you for appreciating that. I'm not making this up. It's a time-traveling VTuber with blue hair and glasses, and she's now my friend. Anyway, I will say that even if you're squeamish about all the gender stuff this game is doing, please, if any part of this game appeals to you, please give it a chance, because high chances are, even if you're reserved at first, this game is going to surprise and delight you, and it might even change your mind about a couple things. Although, final note, what's impressive to me most about this game is it's very deep, but it doesn't get overly angsty, or even just a little bit preachy at any moment, in my opinion. Ultimately, before anything else this game is trying to do, and in my opinion doing incredibly well, it's mostly just a really fun time. And call me old-fashioned, but yeah, I believe games are supposed to be fun, and gender's the spectrum, and men can look incredibly attractive in dresses.
Game's fun, how dare you? Games are only supposed to be a job. FOMO, you got to check it every day. You got to do the battle pass. Yeah, if people are interested, we are giving away a copy of this game, 2 actually, 1 digital and 1 of the bronze physical limited edition. Brooke, what comes in that?
That is $100 game, that edition that I ordered a few months ago because I was really excited about this game. Blew my mind when I got to review this. Let me see if I can get everything. A giant, like almost 8x11 size, like hardback art book that is just gorgeous. Like Ishida-san's art is just incredible. You get a 3-layer acrylic. I'm like looking around at my stuff right now because I wasn't prepared for this question. You get like a giant, beautiful handkerchief with all like the classes emblems on it. When we want to talk about the different like classes of the school's emblems, it's almost got like a Gryffindor, Slytherin, whatever, Harry Potter, like class division thing. You get an enamel pin for each of those classes, a giant, beautiful box, and probably some other stuff I'm forgetting. But this is actually like... Yeah, the art book's huge as heck.
So good.
And yeah, I collect Otome limited editions, and I think this one is actually especially generous. A lot of the time we don't even get acrylics. We get a giant 3-level acrylic of all the characters, and it's just really nice. So good luck. Good luck to all.
How do people enter? What do they got to do?
You can look up our tweet for the giveaway. You can find that on the SML podcast or at my Twitter at McDonald's Goth. And all you have to do is follow SML podcast, follow Aksys Games, follow me, retweet the tweet, and live in North America because we can only give out the game code and the physical edition to North America.
Yes. Sorry for the rest of the people in the world, but
sorry about that.
We can only do so much.
I don't make the rules.
And how long does it go? When are we doing this until? I don't even know because you've been running it.
So the game comes out. Hold on, I'm checking my phone. The game comes out
15th,
on the 15th.
Days.
So I'm actually going to run it for the duration of the 15th, which I also mentioned on Twitter, but like in some comments attached to it. So the 16th, it will be over, and for the duration of the 15th, just to be pumped for release date, we're gonna run it until then. So exciting times.
Cool. So if you're hearing this episode, you probably got maybe like an hour or 2 to enter. So just hurry up, get over there.
Do it now.
Hope Jacob did the tweets
before Twitter implodes or whatever.
Oh no, Brooke does the tweets now.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah, Jacob is like, fuck Twitter, fuck Elon Musk, and I'm like, I totally understand.
Totally fair.
Yeah. Yep.
So are most of the rest of us, really, but we're just still there.
I feel that, and what's made me come to peace with it is the Otome community is still mostly just a thing on Twitter. So I'm going to be here with y'all till it burns down, and we're going to have a really good time. So check it out if you're still here with us. Yeah, and thank you. It was an honor to like do my first giveaways this week, and for Aksys, like my mind was blown. So thank you, Joe, for helping me set that up. It's just honestly very humbling, and I'm really happy I get to be a part of bringing this to folks.
Well, I am thrilled that you were ambitious enough to get all this set up on your own, and I'm just basically a conduit for you to do some cool shit. So get those entries in, win a limited edition, or win a copy of the game, digital, just enter, do it. Brooke, that's it for you. You gonna stick around or are you heading out?
I am actually. I'm going to mute and eat my sandwich I ordered that arrived while Ro was still here. And I'm going to listen to Grant was going to review something I really Katamari.
Nice.
I'm going to be around at least for that. I got to listen to Pernell's Amnesia because I said I would. So I'll be around quietly.
All right. Well, the next game to talk about is Bleak Sword DX, developed by More 8-Bit, published by Devolver Digital, released June 8th on Switch and PC for $9.99. Discover and destroy increasingly horrifying creatures across an oppressive lo-fi world, wielding fierce weaponry, powerful magic in this pocket-sized action adventure. Wielding feces.
The fuck did I just
throwing poo.
I heard.
Tim, where are you throwing poo at in Bleak Sword?
I don't know. I just knocked something down, and I don't know what it was. It was probably, I don't know. It's not. I heard something fall, but didn't see it. So I don't know. Not important. Anyways. All right, let's talk about Bleak Sword for a bit. My body just realized that I was woken up very early today because my fire alarm or my smoke detector started to chirp to let me know that its battery was low, and it probably could have started to let me know that information, like let's say an hour later. But it starts to chirp, and the dogs start to freak out because they don't like the chirp, and then I hear the chirp, and I'm like, I gotta get up and take care of it. And then I'm just awake. And now my body's like, you need to go to sleep. But I'm probably going to stay up because I also want to hear about Katamari. Dude, we love Katamari. It's my favorite one. So it better be good.
Anyway, what is Bleak Sword?
Bleak Sword, DX. I think this game was originally released on Apple Arcade, from what I saw, and now it is emerging out onto some other platforms that people are actually going to play it on. I'll cut to the chase. So it's like I looked at this game, or I like watched the trailer, and I immediately, just from like the way games are these days, I'm like, this looks like some kind of fucking roguelike Metroidvania bullshit. It's one of those two, because that's what every goddamn indie game is. And I'm happy to say it is neither one of those. It is just a fucking video game. It is a game where you go into a level and you fight the things in the level, and then you move on to the next level. You don't like die and go back to the beginning. There isn't some like big ass map you gotta explore. You're just like, you beat that level, you go to the next level. You have one choice. There's not a choice. You're just going to the next level. You're choosing whether you're going to continue to engage with the game. You're not like branching a path. You're just going to the next level and getting through it and moving on. And I miss that. It's so
Sometimes
refreshing.
You need simplicity.
Sometimes you do. So you got these little like kind of tilt shift looking, like very just like you see the whole level like all at once on your screen. The game's entire aesthetic is all like shades of gray, mainly, hard white, black and white, with some grays in between, and then, red for blood and shit. Not the only game that's done this, but it does this. And I think the way that the levels are drawn is pretty striking. It looks cool. And yeah, so you just kind of have like these little dioramas that you're running around. And so, yeah, you got your little guy with his little sword and his little shield, and you can, shocker, you can swing your sword. You can swing your sword a little harder. You can parry things with your shield if timed correctly. You can roll. There is some stamina, so they couldn't resist injecting a little bit of souls into this game. So you can't just swing your sword all willy-nilly. And you'll go into a level, and then you are going to be attacked by some spooky monsters. You will need to kill all the monsters dead, and then you will move on to the next level. You will gain experience. You gain experience at the end of the level. If you die during a level, you will... Okay, let's do this first. If you get words. I used like all my sanity talking to Ro for an hour.
Word.
just emptied the sanity bucket. So you get enough experience to gain a level, then you get to pick one of your stats you want to enhance, which is either like your health or your attack or your defense. And I always kind of, I don't know if you're like your health and your defense are kind of the same thing in a way, because they're just both keeping you from dying. Either way, you pick one of those three things, you're going to be presented with two of them. You pick one. So for me, it's like, is attack an option? I'm picking that. Is it one of the other two? I'll flip a coin. Now, if you have an excess of experience, you go to the next level and then you die. You then have one chance to go through and beat that level and get that lost experience back, or else it's gone forever. So that's, again, how they're slipping the souls in there on you. It's not that big a deal because the game is so straightforward and like action arcadey based. Eventually you're just going to get good and get through there. All right, you guys are talking about sandwiches. I gotta minimize that.
Sorry.
It's all good. It was just because it was all caps. I'm just talking about things in the Discord, not germane to the game or this podcast. So yeah, you get one chance to get it back, and if you blow it, then it's like, whatever. Now you just gotta lose that. But the thing, the experience scale, so eventually you catch up with it. It's not that big a deal. You will occasionally get items when you beat a level. Some of those are, like bracelets or rings that I guess are quote unquote permanent. And some are like one-time use items. I threw up air quotes that you couldn't see because it's a podcast when I said permanent, because again, if you die, you will also drop that item there. So that's what hurts a little more when you actually don't get your stuff back. But again, not the end of the world. A lot of it is just about getting good and being able to manage the enemies as they appear on the screen, know what to prioritize, keeping an eye on their attack tells, moving out of the way and just cutting them down. It's not like a huge swarm. There's like a certain cadence to it. And if you're good about killing them fast, there usually isn't that much you have to worry about all at once. The beefs I have, I should mention the game does change things up. It'll shake things up with like environmental hazards, or just features where, you start out, you're in like a woods, there's trees that get in the way. You'll go to a swamp, so there's like water areas, and then there's places that are elevated that you can't get to. You don't have to kill the enemies that are on the elevated levels. There's a level where you're riding on horseback. And that has like some little different mechanics to it. The beefs I have with the game is sometimes monsters and yourself can kind of get lost behind objects in the environment, which can be frustrating. Just kind of from the perspective of the game and the way, like when you press attack, like your dude kind of like lunges out. And I had a lot of times where I would just like swing my sword past an enemy and not hit them. And that didn't feel good, because then the enemy would probably hit me and I would die, and I'd be like, ah. And there's these fucking spider enemies that don't have a good tell, so I can't tell when they're about to like leap at me. And when you're approaching them, they're like scuttling backwards, and then they'll shoot you with a web and stick you, and then they'll like shoot out at you really fast. And they're just a pain in the ass, and I just don't like them. This is more of like a personal grudge than anything. But yeah, it's a real solid game, and it's like, correct me if I'm wrong, Joseph, it's only like $10.
It is $10.
Yeah, it's $10. That's an absolute solid and fair deal for this game. It was a great palate cleanser, kind of between lengthy Tears of the Kingdom sections. But yeah, just to get something a little just simple, straightforward, level based. I'm not having to like, you're not grinding. You're not starting back from the beginning, having to like grind up equipment or stats to like get further in a roguelike thing. You're not like having to remember the map and take this item over here. It's just, no, you're just going to a level, you fight something, they all die, you move on to the next level. That's it. There's like a dozen worlds with like a dozen levels in each one. It's, what do you want? Yeah, come on. Just like, yeah. That's the DX part, by the way, is they've just expanded and enhanced the game, more levels and more
DLC chapters, stuff like that.
Yeah, stuff like that. But it's all in here as one package, so enjoy.
I have a question.
Yeah, bring it.
I noticed some levels where you mentioned horseback, where it's almost like the bike levels from Battletoads while fighting. You know what I'm talking about? Is there much of that? Because it looked really cool.
There's not too much of it. But it's, I was kind of bummed that like the first time that I don't know if there's one like late in the game, but it was shorter than the other levels to that point. There was only like 5 or 6 stages in that one, whereas the other ones had been like a dozen. So I don't think they did too much with the horse bit.
I have another question.
All right, bring it.
Is it hard as nails?
I don't think it's as hard as nails.
Gotcha, because it's Devolver and you never know. It has that look where it might be punishing. They think it's fun to make it that punishing, but it's hard to tell from the. Yeah,
I mean, it has more of I think of an old school challenge to it, but I wouldn't consider it like. Again, you're not like when you die, you're not going back to like the beginning of the world. The worst that happens is you lose like some of your experience progress, but I did not find that to be punishing, as it were. It's just it's difficult, but it's not like yoinking my hair out or anything. I thought it was pretty solid in that respect, but it is a challenge.
It's yoink free, is what you're saying?
Yeah, yoink free.
All right, Grant, you ready to do your stuff?
Sure.
Question: Katamari, that's a ball. Does that qualify as Ball Squad?
Yes. Can I just say yes?
Yes. All right.
Here. Yep.
Yeah, buddy.
There we go.
We'll never die. That song has more airtime than any of the music I've ever written in my life.
Awesome.
I love it.
All right. Well,
yeah, go for it.
All right. Next game to talk about is We Love Katamari REROLL, developed by MONKEYCRAFT, published by Bandai Namco Entertainment America. Released June 2nd on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC for $29.99. The king of the cosmos once accidentally destroyed all the stars in the universe. He sent his son, the prince, to Earth and ordered him to create a large Katamari. The prince rolled the Katamari and made the Katamari bigger and bigger, rolling up all things on Earth. The Katamari that he created floated in space, sparkling, and brought back the lost starry sky. As the starry sky was restored, the king's fans gradually grew in number all over the world. The king wanted to respond to the wishes of his fans for success, and the prince kept rolling the Katamari to make everyone's dreams come true. I know my dream was for We Love Katamari to come back, and that came true. So, Grant, what's going on in this one?
Well, We Love Katamari is a side-scrolling roguelike Metroidvania from 2005 on the PS2. How am I doing so far?
Good.
We making people happy?
Yes.
Sounds like a video game.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yeah. I will say We Love Katamari, also my favorite Katamari.
Yeah.
I don't know why I like it more than Beautiful Katamari, because that was the 360 game. It was, they bumped up the fidelity and stuff, but this was the game where they really experimented with scale. So, you gave the backstory, but basically you're this little prince rolling this ball around, rolling up stuff on Earth that is relative to the size of your Katamari. And as you roll up push pins and pencils and things, you graduate to cats and dogs, and eventually the houses owned by the people who have those cats and dogs, their counties, their countries. It gets cosmic in scale. And maybe it's just because this was the first game that really got that big, and that's why I love it so much. But it's got everything. It's got refined controls from the first Katamari game that came out. It's got It's got all the cousins you can pick. It's got really good music. I still think the first soundtrack from the first Katamari is my favorite overall. But this one is a lot of people's favorite. I learned after doing some reading, so that was kind of interesting. There's some really good jams on this one. But it is We Love Katamari. It has been given the reroll treatment. It is buttery smooth at 4K. It is an absolute joy. For me, I'm reminded after the Summer Game Fest that so much in video game visuals is over-designed. It's all about it's just an embarrassment of detail in every piece of armor, in every environment, every leaf. And it really feels good to go back to something low poly and flat colored, but high fidelity. It's never you can always tell what's going on in every bit of this game. And it looks better than it ever has. It is this game. There is some new stuff. They've done some control refinements. You don't get stuck quite as often. You can climb up steeper hills perhaps a bit easier than you used to. So there's some sort of quality of life things that they've changed. They've also gone as far as to add an additional control scheme. So you can play with just the left stick and with the right stick aiming the camera.
Really?
Yeah, which is wild. And I will tell you,
what'd you review this on, by the way?
Series X.
Okay.
Xbox. So I was really excited to try that because I think like this is a time to introduce. I mean, come on, it's been almost 20 years since the first Katamari. I mean, this is the opportunity to introduce this to the next generation that may immediately be turned off by the dual stick controls of the first game. It controls like a tank. It's like push both sticks forward and we're off, and then you have to flip in different directions to turn around, and you wiggle the sticks to do a dash, and it all works well. So I tried the new scheme, and I just can't. I can't do it. I think I've played. I think it's a combination of two things. I've played so much Katamari that control scheme just works for me. I've gotten pretty good at it. It's, you when you're pushing both sticks up, you left the right stick off to take a slight turn to the right, or you pull the right stick down to take a quicker turn to the right. You just get used to that. And so I like it. What's especially strange about the new control scheme is that with the right stick, you don't really have full control of the camera. You can't look up and down and all around. You just go left and right. You're still sort of locked to the camera view of the game, and I'm sure that's engine related or something. So it just ends up feeling funny. I found myself trying to control the game with both sticks, even with turning on the other mode. So I turned that shit right off. But you know what? Someone out there is really excited that they did that. I think it's cool they did that. It's an option for people. They added some additional stuff. There is an eternal mode now where you can play any level to completion every single thing in the level without worrying about a time limit, which in my opinion is one of the coolest things.
That's awesome.
You could have done it. It was needed. You're playing an old game on a Series X. You know how like when you load a game in Katamari, you've got the king of the cosmos' head floating around the screen, bouncing like Pong, and he's basically speaking words, but the words are coming out one letter at a time, and they fly off to the left. You don't even get to see what he says because this game loads so damn fast. It's a new world, right? So some added some outfits and some songs from the first Katamari if you spring for the special edition. So this is essentially called We Love Katamari REROLL Plus Royal Reverie Special Edition. That's the $10 more version. And if you do that, you get a few outfits, which honestly, who cares? Because by the time you roll up a dude, you can't even see the prince pushing the ball around anyway. True. That's my take on it. You do get 25 songs from the first Katamari game, which I don't know how long the soundtrack was, but that's a lot of music.
It's not from just the first game. It's from a bunch of games in the series.
Oh, is it? Okay,
yeah.
That I did not realize.
It's just 25 additional songs through the series.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. And so that's the perk for an extra $10. I can't say that it just depends on how much you really want to jam on some Katamari with your favorite songs. Maybe your songs aren't in here. My favorite Katamari song is Angel's Flavor Present, which is not in this game, and that's too bad, but we have REROLL. That's fine. And then this is not a part of the special edition, but the Royal Reverie part. So there are strange cutscenes in this game, and the cutscenes in We Love Katamari center around the king of all cosmos and his time growing up with his father. And so you actually have the ability to play 5 new levels where you play as the king. Now, it's neat. I will say that those levels they aren't in new environments. They aren't using new art. It's essentially I'm hearing the reaction while I'm saying this. It's funny. One of the levels is literally 30 seconds long. It's sort of like a little quick challenge level. There's not a lot going on in there. So don't expect some big expansion for We Love Katamari. It's kind of cool that you're playing as Baby King and you're rolling stuff around as him, but that experience will last you maybe 20 minutes before you're back in the main game.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. But We Love Katamari is not the longest game. I think it's girthy. It's bigger than the first game was. You'll finish it in a few hours if you're just mainlining it. But if you want to go back and kind of go and find all the cousins, do a lot of the challenges, go through everything in eternal mode, there's a lot of value here, I think. And honestly, in terms of the production and everything, I don't really have any complaints. It plays great. It is how you remember the first game playing, which I think is an example of a really good remaster. If you go back and go check out some footage from the old game. It doesn't look this good. So they've done really well, and it does play really nicely. I rarely feel like I'm stuck in a corner and having to back up and turn around. So I don't know what specific things they've done, but it plays great. So,
very nice. Well, it is $30. What is your verdict on that?
I feel like it's the best Katamari. I feel like if you're gonna go for one of these to give it a shot, I don't think there's much that can replace the feeling of getting just big enough to take out your first human, or just big enough to roll down a fence and pick up every piece of the fence along the way. Or be tall enough to grab clouds out of the sky. I don't think I know of another game that's done anything like that. And there's a satisfaction you get from this game, paired with the amazing gonzo Japanese visuals and music and the absurdity of it all. I feel like it's an absolute buy. And if you've ever thought you might want to give one of these games a shot, this is absolutely the one to get. And I may even say that after they do Beautiful Katamari or whatever. I feel like this is kind of the one to play.
Nice. Well, they also have the special edition, which you mentioned is $10 more. It includes that special music bundle, which by itself is actually $20. So you're saving $10 if you get the bundle. Is it worth it for the extra music, or what do you think?
I don't think I haven't even gone and customized my playlist with additional music, because I I've been enjoying the music that's in We Love Katamari already. I honestly feel like I don't feel like the costumes are worth it because they're 10 pixels tall when you start a level anyway, and they just disappear. And it's fun playing as different cousins anyway. They're where sort of the fun art comes from. So if you're really interested in getting that extra music in the game, go for it. Myself, I feel like the base game is everything you'd need out of it.
Cool.
So.
Yeah, the soundtrack includes 5 songs from each of the other Katamaris, including Katamari, Me and My Katamari, Beautiful Katamari, Katamari Forever, and Touch My Katamari.
Oh, the mobile game.
No thanks.
I
played that. That was a clicker game.
Touch My Katamari. So much Katamari.
Touch My Katamari.
I want a sound clip of Tim saying that as well. Just add that to my list, please.
Yeah, there you go. Oh, there's 2-player in We Love Katamari too. So if you care,
nice.
I have a feeling the frame rate will be a lot better on this version, but I haven't tested it myself. So.
Cool. Well, now you got some actual Ball Squad to talk about because we got some pinball.
All right, I got to go to bed, even though I love pinball. Good night.
All right, see you, Tim.
Night.
Next up is Pinball FX Honor and Legacy Pack, developed and published by Zen Studios. Released June 8th as DLC for Pinball FX for $9.99. Fight for honor and cement your legacy on these timeless Zen originals. Seek vengeance in feudal Japan or relive the adventures of one of the best-selling novels of Jules Verne. Grant, what's going on in the Honor and Legacy Pack?
Well, Zen continues to crank out original tables, which I very much appreciate. They've got a number of people over there building them. And this time they went for the feudal Japan theme and sort of an adventure table. So A Samurai's Vengeance is feudal Japan. It's honestly one of the prettiest tables I think they've ever done. The detail in this table, it's worth booting this up and just looking at the camera flyover because there's so much detail that you just would not see playing the game. There's a tiny game board of Go, the Go, the
yeah.
Like sitting on the right plastic near the flipper, and it's like with like tiny pieces and stuff. There's a whole bunch of sake sitting on the left plastic. There's bamboo all over the table feeding water. The letters above the top lanes, the drop lanes, are lit with these beautiful lanterns that have letters on them that light up when you. So it's just covered in detail, which I appreciate, and it's got really good music. I think the musician might be the same as the guy who does their other stuff because I recognize the snare drum. I'm just gonna say that I'm a nerd and I might say something like that, but he did a really good job putting I've had a lot of conversations with people about pinball music and how. The default in tables is to create excitement, right? Create excitement to get more quarters in. But there's something to say for playing a game as crazy as pinball, but having some chill music to kind of help you get in the zone. And the main out of mode music in this game is very chill. It's very zen, and it's not like stuff I've heard from them before. So that was really kind of cool. It's got the bombast, when you get into multi-balls or fighting enemies, but the main goal of the game is to get to the upper play field and bang against a main target that will allow you to fight one of the enemies, and then you're trying to take them out. And it's got pretty standard pinball modes. Otherwise, very easy table to read. Shoot the shot that's lit. There's not a lot of hidden stuff. It's very open, very flowy. So yeah, I'm really into Samurai's Vengeance. It's a really chill table. It's a lot easier to if you're playing on a TV or at a distance where sometimes it's hard to read shots. This one's a pretty easy one to play. So that's the Samurai's Vengeance one.
Cool. What about Verne's Mysterious Island?
Every time I see Verne, I think of Ernest. that dates me, and you laugh, so you too, right?
I know.
I wish they'd make an Ernest theme table. Okay, I
think I'm the only person in the world who still makes a Miak joke.
Miak?
Ernest Scared Stupid.
Oh, wow.
It's MILK, but he was like, Miak.
Miak, yep.
So dumb. So, how's Ernest's Mysterious Island?
Ernest is banging on your windows in Lowe's commercials, just like he always has in Verne's Mysterious Island. This is an adventure table. I'm going to call it an adventure table because it's got pirates. It's got a volcano in it. There's a bunch of different stuff going on. It's like they took a bunch of adventure films and sort of smashed it together for this table. It's a wide body table, I think. So in real pinball, occasionally you'll come across a wide body table, which is, I don't know how many inches wider, but it's almost as wide as the back box is. It's just a much larger table with more to shoot. And that's cool. I will say that it makes things a little harder to read on this table. There's a lot of narrow shots and a lot of paths for the ball to go. And playing on a television at the standard kind of angle, it made this table a little more difficult to get into. I think it's something where if you spent some time with it and learned all the shots, it would be a good time. But I'll say it wasn't as friendly as Samurai's Vengeance was sitting down to it for the first time. It does have a cool thing that a lot of modern tables do where you select a character before you start your ball. So, and every character has perks, right? Has like different abilities. So that can kind of give you send you down a certain strategy if you're looking for that kind of thing. But I think it's got promise, but I will say that it is not my favorite original from them. I need to spend more time with it, I think, but I found myself going right back to Samurai's Vengeance.
Same. I gotta agree with you on that. I love how cool the Mysterious Island pinball table looks, but I'm not a fan of how narrow a lot of the shots are. It felt like it was just way too easy to bounce back and miss your shot.
Yeah, that's very true. And I think a lot of they really want you to get up to the volcano, and it can be difficult to get up there, and it's even more difficult to stay there. So again, I think if you were viewing this top down in a cabinet, where it's easier to read more complicated tables, you'd probably have a better time. But harder to recommend maybe on a regular, unless you're sitting really close to your monitor. And again, spend more time with it, learn the shots. People like that kind of stuff. So,
now it's $10 for the pack. What are your thoughts on it?
I really like Samurai's Vengeance, and I feel like if you dig into Mysterious Island a little more, it might capture my heart as well. But I will say that Samurai is one of the better tables they've put out in the last couple of years as far as originals go. So again, with the way this Zen pinball platform works, you can try trials of any table.
Yep.
So go grab them and give it a few minutes and see what you think. But I do think Samurai's Vengeance is quite good. And if you're sort of like, if you're aiming to kind of fill out the collection of Zen stuff, it's worth it for that table for sure.
Something you might get a kick out of. I was playing Vern's Mysterious Island, and I shot the ball. It bounced, it hit a bumper, hit another bumper, and then right down the drain.
Oh, it's just like
I did
physics are even better now.
Nothing at all. I didn't.
Oh, that's great.
I didn't even have a chance to flip a flipper. It just drained immediately. Oh God, that shit bugs me.
Yeah, that pin life.
Yeah, you gotta love it. But I agree that it's a solid pack. I do like Samurai's Vengeance more than Mysterious Island. Root Beer's saying that they enjoy Mysterious Island more than Vengeance. So
yeah. I mean, I think that it just depends on what you're into, and I could see this game getting the Mysterious Island. People digging on it. It was just I think I found the Samurai Vengeance one so refreshing at first, and then all of a sudden we got opened up a harder table, and it was a bit more difficult to kind of parse.
Yeah. Well, there's one more table to talk about, and that is Pinball FX Williams Pinball Whirlwind. Developed and published by Zen Studios, released June 8th as DLC for Pinball FX for $5.49. Storm alert, blow away the highest scores on Williams Pinball Whirlwind while battling the elements and capturing the wonders of our powerful nature. How is Whirlwind?
A quick story about Whirlwind. I got to play. So this game's all about storms and whatever. They have a version of this game. Someone had hacked up a Black & Decker leaf blower and attached it to the back of the machine and made like a pipe that goes into the head of the machine, and the head has a fan in it that will blow at you when you're in sort of the multi-ball modes to give you a little immersion, right? Well, some dude put the top of the line leaf blower in this game and standing there watching people approach this game and hitting multi-ball, and just it was blowing beanies off, trucker hats are gone, right? It's just this version of the game not quite as intense, but I did want to share that because it's all about the mods, right? Yeah, if you don't know it's coming, and it's sort of nestled, amongst other machines, so you can't see the back of it. So yeah, that's a good time. But this game was originally designed by Pat Lawler, who also did Addams Family and Twilight Zone. He's one of the greats. This is a really fun table, and they did a lot of stuff with weather effects, a lot of things blowing around. There's a fun little animated vehicle that moves around. They always try to like throw some video gamey things in their recreations of these old tables, and this is the same way. It's just a great 90s table. It is sort of a great example of the best of the 90s, in my opinion. And it plays great. They have different physics for the Williams tables. It plays much more realistically. Again, a bit difficult to see. A table that is easier to see from above than the front.
It's a very busy table.
It is, and
it's that 90s feel.
It is. Lots of it's the era of the ramps and all kinds of different ways for the ball to go. And there are spinners on the machine that will create a little chaos and throw the ball around. I will say I'm not generally a fan, not spinners, but like a flat part of the playfield that is a disc that will spin. Yeah. So it will create a bit of chaos for the ball's path. I'm not as big a fan of those in general. I find that the game of pinball is chaotic enough to have that RNG thrown at you when a ball's heading towards the middle, and it may or may not go left or right. It's a little frustrating sometimes, but this game does play well enough, and I think you can avoid those areas that I do think it's a good time.
Well, there's a $549 table. What are your thoughts on that? Is this worth picking up?
Yeah, I think it is. It's one of the less expensive Williams tables they've done. They're putting this one out as a solo table instead of doing a pack of 2 or 3. And I feel like, man, there are cruddy pin games coming out on Switch all the time that are $3. Go spend $2.50 more and get a classic that looks great, plays great. Sort of it's the kind of machine that has inspired all the stuff that Zen continues to do with their own creations. So yeah, I think it's a good deal.
Nice. You're gonna laugh, but I've been picking up those $3 pinball tables as they've been coming to Xbox.
Yeah, I've grabbed a few of them. It's all the same. It's the same guy. I even know the Unity asset pack he used. There's like a pinball like asset pack you can get for Unity and like make your own table. And he's just flipping this stuff, but he's not charging an arm and a leg for it. And the physics are pretty good. So
I think you should start designing tables. I want to see what a Stemage design table looks like.
Dude, I've thought about it a lot because it's not hard to get into that with like the visual pinball software. I started retheming a table from 1979 to make it Dawn of the Dead theme.
Oh,
did some playfield art, and you can hack into the code and put sound effects in there and put some goblin music in there. I made a little progress, but I didn't get too far. I'm not a coder. There's also a new game coming out on Steam called Pin Maker. And it is literally a user-friendly interface for building a machine and creating rules. And the examples they showed were people recreating machines they know. I don't know how the physics is going to be, but I'm kind of waiting for something like that to show up, like a more consumer-level virtual pinball builder. So we'll see. But yeah, I'm just going to design an SML table.
We need an SML table. We have too many sound effects. Like when you're sitting there and you haven't shot the ball yet, you could get one of these.
Yep. Yes. Exactly.
Like you still haven't taken your shot, and it's like,
hello.
Get that.
Oh, I love it. Or like when you drain. You could do the hello or so. Oh, I love it. We need to get together.
Multi-ball.
Fucking yeah.
That's my favorite one.
Every time you enter the quarters, of course, you get. That's the start.
Oh, there it is.
Yeah,
there it is. You do have.
I could dive into our wrestling themed sound clips as well. This is a fun one.
I'll fucking kill you. No, that's when you drain. That's what it plays when you
fucking kill you. That is Karen Jarrett from Ric Flair's last match, screaming at one of Flair's kids in the audience. It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen in wrestling, and I had to make a sound clip of it. But Grant, that is it for you. Thank you for chatting pinball and Katamari with us. Are you going to stick around, or are you heading out?
Yeah, I'll hang out.
Cool. We got 4 more games to talk about. It is now the Chris and Pernell show. Pernell, you ready to go?
What? Yeah. Wiki wild.
Tim left, so I'll do it. Pernell, how are you?
You know how I'm doing. you know how I'm doing, which is why you shouldn't ask.
I thought maybe it might have changed because you're hanging out with us.
It literally got more expensive. So, no, it didn't. It just got more expensive. That's what changed.
Oh, shit. Well,
yeah.
Now you get to tell us if we get to spend money, because the next game to talk about is Loop 8 Summer of Gods, developed by Marvelous Inc., published by Marvelous USA and XSEED Games, released June 6th on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC for $49.99. Your choices shape the world in this coming-of-age RPG as a new arrival in the 1980s rural Japanese town with a mysterious ability to loop time. Your every decision and relationship will affect the outcome of battles against the invading Kagai. Pernell, what's going on in Loop 8 Summer of Gods?
A lot of systems. But I will also say, right off the bat, I feel like that is where the first issue with this game lies. In that very specific blurb, they describe this as an RPG, and while I am sure that someone can look at this and go, well, it's totally an RPG, there's battles in it, I feel like that is a disservice to what this game is, and it's likely going to impact the audience that ends up purchasing it, because this is more up to, likely more up to Brooke's speed. This feels more like a visual novel to me, with light RPG elements. Because
oh my god,
because the premise of this game is you are a character named Nini, and this is going to sound ridiculous. Guess what? It sounds just as ridiculous when you're learning about it in the game too. Nini is a character who lives in a space station out in outer space. I also am under the impression this takes place in what would be considered like an alternate 90s or something. The space station gets attacked. Everyone but him dies on the space station. He ends up going to Earth to live at his grandma's house. His grandma's not there, though, so it's just him and his not quite related, but supposedly possibly related, like a cousin or something. They live in the house together. And the premise of this game is that you are living in this house, in this new town, over the course of the month. And within this town, I swear there's only 12 residents, because you only see those 12 people the entire game. But you will come across these people on a regular basis as you walk around town, because the game runs on a clock. Think like, I don't want to say like a Persona or whatever, because Persona is more like, hey, you do something and then your day goes by. Whereas in this game, the clock constantly ticks down. Even if you're standing still, the clock is ticking. And you have to pretty much spend your day engaging with the people as you come across them in town, or by going to class to learn. And all of these things will allow you to increase various stats for your character. If you come across one of the people in town, you can talk to them. They might say a quick little blurb. And based on what you say to them, as far as like a response to like a choice of action, you might increase stats with them as far as like your social relationship with them. You might get them to walk along with you, and they become part of your quote-unquote party. And for the most part, you're just trying to engage and interact with them and have a, homely, town-filled life. But this is quote-unquote an RPG by their standing, so what the hell does that come into play? Well, that's simple. Because earlier I mentioned that you fell from space because your space station home was destroyed. It was destroyed by creatures that are referred to as the Kagai. And your town, think Neon Genesis Evangelion, is kind of surrounded by a barrier that keeps the Kagai out. But they're pretty much like world-ending monsters. But somehow, during your time in town, they've managed to breach the barrier and get in. And when the game has a period where a day will cycle through, and if it's the time for one of them to get in, you'll see a quick sentiment that says the barrier has been breached, the Kagai has entered town. And at which point, you are now on high alert, because in 5 in-game days, the world ends because they just destroy everything. So you have 5 days to find who the Kagai possessed, and then, well, I'll get to that now in a second too. So you are trying to figure out who possessed the Kagai, or who the Kagai has possessed. But for as all as I could tell, the only indication that you get of proof of that is at a certain point in the 5-day cycle, you might see a sentiment that shows like a sweeping, like cinema of a Kagai doing something in a certain area of town, of which there's only 6 places in town you can go, so it's a very small loadout of options. But when you come across that, you pretty much guess correctly by going to the place at the right time, hopefully, you'll see another quick cinema of the possessed individual being possessed. And then they go to, oh God, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically like it's similar to the last dungeon in Persona 4. It's like Yamatsu, like Yamatsu Hirasana or something like that. It's a name. But it's basically a portal to another dimension, an alternate reality that's pretty much a mirror image of your hometown or the town you're living in. And once that portal opens up, you can go there and attempt to defeat that character and hopefully restore them back to normal or kill them. It's your choice. There's reason behind which one or other. And you can do it alone if you're lucky, or rather if you think you're really good, or you can take 2 friends with you to go and engage in this battle. And you can, of course, get them to come along with you by talking to them on the street and just saying, hey, you want to join my party? And they go, sure. And then you can go into the portal together. And I'm going to get to like my issues with all this in a bit. There's a line of them, but I'm going to try to describe the general scope of this as best I can. So once you've got your party together, you go onto the portal. You can now explore this mirror image of your town, and there's a wall preventing you from actually fighting the actual boss of the area, the Kigai that's possessed your resident mate. And the way to break it is by collecting Magatama, by fulfilling like little mission conditions in the mirror world. You might fight these little spirit creatures that are basically mini Kigai. They all look the same, by the way. Or you might just come across a thing where it says, hey, do you want to grab this? Can you reach it? And you go, sure. You lose some of your energy stat, and then you get it. And then once you have enough Magatama, you can breach the gate and go fight the boss. And then this is pretty much where actual combat occurs. Because, yeah, I mentioned little tiny, floaty monsters that you can fight sometimes, but they're barely even a thing. The real battles are the bosses. And the way the boss battles work is the people that get possessed by the Kigai have a relationship stat with the other people in town. There's a menu in your main menu that can let you look at all the relationships with all the different people in town and whatnot. And depending on what kind of relationship they have with these people, that will determine who you want to take with you to fight them and fight their possessor and hopefully restore them. Because when you battle, your emotions are pretty much the main characteristic that determines how much damage you do, what attacks you do, and also how those attacks affect the monster. You can fight with friendship, affection, or hate. Hate is powerful, but makes the monster angrier and hit harder. Friendship is weaker, but kind of calms them down, assuming you have a decent friendship stat with the monster. You'll be able to control your main character by telling them exactly what to do, but the other 2 people, a la Persona 3, do what the heck they want. And the way that you can kind of guess what they're going to do as best you can is you can press a button in combat that uses something called Divine Sight, and it allows you to kind of read the person's mind to hear like a quick quote that says something akin to like, oh, I'm going to go for it. This is going to take 1 strike. And you're like, I think he's going to try to hit him. So maybe I'll use my ability that makes the attack stronger. Hopefully that'll do the trick. And of course, if you're lucky, he'll say, you read my mind, bro. Or he'll say, and then basically they'll go into battle and they'll do their thing. When the battle's over, you get the choice whether to kill the Kigai or try to save the person that's possessed it. And I assume because of how I came to understand the relationship chart, that might be affected by who you brought with you. I'm trying not to kill nobody because I'm not a douche. So I did my best to save who I could. I didn't beat this game, though. Why? I'll tell you right now. Because there are some issues I have with this title that kind of made me go from being intrigued to bored. So, I mentioned the 5-day loop cycle, right? In the event that you happen to lose against the Kigai, or you don't succeed at defeating them within the 5-day window that they come down, you end your loop and you have to start all the way back from the beginning of the loop, no matter how far into the month you've gotten. But in a lot of games, that generally means, okay, well, that means maybe I can, speed through a couple of options here and there. I get some kind of, basically I can just get back to where I was. But no, they make you watch everything, including things like the initial day to 2-day introduction of, hey, welcome to the town. This is the downtown street. You got to watch all this stuff again. They repeat everything. Any of the exercise that you engaged in to increase your stats throughout town, that progress is gone. Start over with that. Any relationships you formed with the townspeople, done. Got to start over on all of those too. So the best way to describe how I feel about that element is like how people talked about Bravely Default's second half and how that pretty much tanked an entire game for a lot of people. That's how I feel about that here. Now, you might be saying, okay, well, if you lose your friendship or your affinities and relationship statuses and you lose all your trained stats, does anything carry over to the repeated loops? And the answer is yes, one thing actually does. As you walk around town and you're talking to people and you're just checking out objects that are around, you might occasionally you'll see them often. This flying squirrel character that's not named Mufasa, who will come up to you and say something like, "Hey, it's your favorite squirrel friend. Here's some divine points because someone up there loves you," and you'll just get a random stat boost to one of you or the other townspeople's stats. And that level, called the blessed level, carries over between, transitions or whatnot. So I feel like the main grind in this game comes in two forms. One, being smart with your saves, grinding out, looking for all the flying squirrel spawn points just to get those permanent stat buffs, and then talking to people, hoping you get the conversation that you want to get more flying squirrel buffs and potentially relationship builds. And that's only, as far as a relationship goes, that almost really only matters if you're like, this is my final run. This is the run where I'm going to get the complete loop. Because again, obviously the relationship just resets each time you try. But the idea becomes save your game early on into like a 5-day cycle. Talk to people as best you can, build up relationships, get flying squirrel points. And when you come across the Kagai possession period, do some experimentation to see who you can figure out if you can find who it was. Check the relationships and try to beat them a couple times. If you can't, then just do a refresh of the loop. You can do it by letting him kill you or by talking to an NPC, a specific one, and having her reset your time loop for you. And try again. For me, that's the main gripe I have with the game. I feel like by way of those elements and the fact that it's a life sim sort of game with light RPG bits, but it's not. It's like an experiment that needed some more work. It didn't quite hit the notes I was hoping it would hit for me. The animation looks great. The art looks good. Even that weird slowdown thing they have doing with the animation that's intentional, I think that looks good too. It kind of looks like a unique style of art interpretation. I've read that they were trying to make it replicate something sort of like a classic anime style animation, which I get. But I guess one other thing that bugged me, though, this might have been just me missing it as far as like atmosphere in the game goes. Usually when a game has these like aliens are taking over and these kids can stop them or whatever, there's usually some sort of build up to that. This game doesn't have it, which left me to wonder if maybe there's some kind of weird loop that already started and you're coming in the middle of it and mostly people know what's going on, but you're coming to this town, you're from space, they all know you're from space because in this world that's a normal thing. And one out of nowhere, 2 days after you get into town, or rather up to 3 days after getting into town, you might be in this this inverted world, and you got people who have never seen a spiritual thing in their lives, like suddenly fighting with hammers and swords and their fists. Like, how'd you learn about all this junk? Are you just carrying a hammer around all the time for willy-nilly fun times? And suddenly, good thing I have this giant cudgel to beat the snot out of spirits. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the games I play. I have no qualms with weird crap in my games. It's just something about the fact that there is no build-up to idyllic life, and suddenly we have to fight these monsters. At one point early in the game, very early, this isn't a spoiler because you'll see it like 8 times, you'll go to school, the teacher will start to walk in and give a lecture. It's your first day of school. Time will stop. A fox girl will get on the teacher's podium and say, "The Kagai are coming, stop them!" And the only person who sees it is apparently another girl who walks up and just tells her to get down from the desk and resume class. And later she tells you, "Oh, she does this all the time." But then later that same person goes, "Wait a minute, you can see my ears and tail? You must have demon sight." And I'm so confused by all of this because at this point I'm like, so she can see you. She's the only one that notices that time has been stopped. But she can't see your ears and tail? Or does she just not tell you she can see your ears and tail? There's so much weird shit. But I don't know. There are definitely some people that might play this and go, Pernell, you just know what the hell you're talking about. They clearly mentioned that at the very, very beginning, and you just fell asleep at that time. You just didn't see it. I don't know. They might be out there playing this game right now going, I'm going to play it anyway. Fuck reviews. Bunch of basement dwellers or whatever. And more power to those people. But from my perspective and how I felt about the game, it unfortunately just didn't hit the notes I wanted to, and which is especially sad because I was really looking forward to this game. It has Noriyuki Iwadari as the composer. Yeah, like Noriyuki Iwadari is the composer. I haven't heard him compose a track in years. So I was like, oh, man. Which, by the way, the music he composed for this game is good. So at least look for the OST. But yeah, it just didn't quite hit for me.
Well, the game's... Oh, go ahead, Brooke.
This whole review is an elaborate diss on me. Pernell's like, I think Brooke would like this game. No, I'm just playing. I gotta laugh. Dude, at the beginning, when we were describing the game, I just heard the words coming of age in Japanese town. So I hit in the Discord, I was like, coming of age, Japanese town, I'm in. And immediately you were like, oh no, man, I think this would be like a game for Brooke. It's just losing it. This is hilarious.
Alfredo, I'm not kidding. I think you could like this game. It's the idea of saying, imagine playing Jack John, right? And you're like, all right, I got relationships. I'm freaking Chesty LaRue and Bongo John. I'm friends with all these guys. They're my classmates. We are rolling deep. And then out of nowhere, it's like, time to start over. None of that happened. God. Do it again. And you can't skip the dialogue. You're like, what the heck is going on? It's like, that's what I'm saying. It's like the characters are well written. It's just that looping thing just doesn't click. There's some, I don't know. They could have done some more with this. And I feel like in a new follow-up game with a little bit more time investment and more options to like make a bigger scope of a product, they could do something with this. But this is more like the beginners. Let's get this concept tested, not the final product type of game here, unfortunately.
Well, it's $49.99. What's your official verdict?
I feel like I need to be genuinely sincere here with this statement. I was preparing to say, I'm going to say try it, but me personally was denied because I honestly ended up taking it back. Like I just couldn't keep it because I didn't feel like it was something I'd want to stick with long term. But I'm going to say try it only because I feel like the RPG marketing is semi doing a disservice to what they produced here. And that might be the mark. That might be the thing that makes other people like it more so than I did.
So if you go in expecting more of a visual novel, social simulator kind of thing, it'll be a better experience than if you go in expecting an RPG.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, moving on. Next game is Star Trek Resurgence, developed by Dramatic Labs, published by Bruner House, released May 23rd. On Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, PS5, and Epic Game Store for $39.99. Star Trek Resurgence is a narrative adventure game featuring dialogue choices, relationship building, and exploration. Alongside dialogue-driven role-playing and rich branching storylines, you will also engage with the Star Trek universe and a variety of other gameplay styles, including shuttle piloting, phaser fights, tricorder scanning, stealth, and micro gameplay mechanics. Chris, what is going on in Star Trek Resurgence?
I love that tricorder scanning is one of the perks. Like, hey, you remember everybody's favorite part of Star Trek when they scan stuff with the tricorders? You get to do that stuff.
Yeah.
But really, you really will be. Okay, so Star Trek Resurgence. Okay, so this kind of gets into two let's say genres or areas that I have a passing knowledge of, but I'm not ultra familiar with, versus like something like a JRPG, right? So two things that are not in my wheelhouse. One of those is the Star Trek license. I watched a lot of The Next Generation in the 90s, on through some of Deep Space Nine and Voyager. It's just, that was back in the day when stuff came on TV. So if you were watching TV, then that was one of the four things you got to choose from, right? Like, it's unbelievable that, we're so far past that age now. We're closer to actual Star Trek being a thing than TV channels. Anyways, so the Star Trek license, like I know a little bit of it, but I'm not like a Trekkie at all. I'm not intimately familiar with any of it. I can't tell you. For shame. Yeah, I can't even remember if it's the odd or the even number Star Trek films that are good. I know there's a system though.
We should point out, we originally wanted to get this for review for Jacob on Xbox, but they were out of Xbox keys, so we got an Epic key, and that leads to Chris checking it out because you have a computer that can run it.
By way of apology, we are revealing why Chris got this one. Hey, I'm actually going to do a review here. I'm just trying to, I'm trying to show my card so that everyone can like calibrate to whether any of my opinions actually matter to a non-Trekkie. Or this might
opinions to listen.
Yeah. And the game's more than $10, so like I was very careful with it. So anyways, no, I'm careful with the $10 games too. Promise, wink. The other thing that I'm not as familiar with and should be, as a video game enjoyer, is the kind of like cinematic, I guess you would say AAA, but like the thing of like basically walking around in a movie and interacting with it through like pop-up commands and like QuickTime events and things like that. Like I've watched a lot of those game movies being played, like they're especially popular in like the horror genre. But I actually have not really played very many of them myself. It's because, I kind of stick with older type stuff, or, you don't see that stuff as much on Switch as you do on like, PS4 or Xbox or, the higher end of Steam, which I do not commit my computer to. So this is both of those things. This is a Star Trek game, an original adventure where you play, you walk around and interact with the world in various ways as two different protagonists, depending on whom the story is focused on at the moment. The first one is the new XO, which I guess means first officer. I don't know these things. But her name is Jara Rydek. She's the new first officer of the USS Resolute, which is a starship that has had some problems. It's revealed right in the opening of the game that they did an experimental warp drive thing for science because it's a science vessel. And it went sideways. The captain's distraught. He, lost some people. I'm sure all of them were wearing red uniforms. And, of course, they lost their original first officer. So now you're kind of taking the place of that person. So you kind of get to be on the bridge. You get to make commands and stuff. You're not the actual captain. You're the person right under the captain, the Riker to this game's Picard. Don't know why I pronounced it that way. Picard. Anyways, so you get to basically really helm the mission as far as like what the plot like unfolds before you, and you make decisions on the fly. There's a timer on those decisions. Somebody will say something. You got like maybe about 5 to 7 seconds, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. Sometimes you get to think about it while the other person's talking, which perfectly emulates the experience of not really listening because you're trying to think of something to say. And you can do that, and it builds relationships with the different characters. It and the role of Jara Rydek is very political. So you might make something that's the right call that is directly against what the captain tells you to. So, and like in every single Star Trek thing ever invented, of course you have to disobey direct orders and then deal with the drama of that. But it might raise your profile with the rest of the crew who kind of don't have the same they might see it differently than the captain or something like that. So it's a lot of that. You are literally walking around. I could not get my controller to work in the Epic thing, the Epic game launcher, which is stupid. So I could not get. This game does work with a controller, but I had to use WASD and a mouse, and I was very, very salty about that. But it's not the fault of this game, so that's not going to factor into this review. It's just Epic. Computers is why I don't use them for gaming or anything. So yeah, you walk around, you get to talk to people. Sometimes you can do a couple things on the side, and everything that you do basically affects the story either in a small way or a really large way. So eventually the main quest, if you will, is the main point of the episode is to travel to this to a planet system where two races are about to be, they're on the brink of war, essentially, over, one of them being the kind of aristocratic kind of, corporate class, I suppose, and the other being like the hardworking, people class. Yeah, it's allegorical. So yeah, the Elydians, who seem to be the greedy corporate, whatevers, the ruling class, and the Hotari, who are the, salt of the earth class, but who knows, maybe there's actually a little bit of a flip here. I don't know. I don't know. It's Star Trek. You don't know what's going to happen. You just know it's all going to be a lot of allegorical morality stuff. Anyways, so yeah, you basically do that, and like literally as soon as you get to this planet, you're you're just meeting these races for the first time, which by the way apparently are established races in the Star Trek universe. I did not do a deep dive into all the references of this game, but every single one I did look up is always something that's already established. Like this,
I think
this game definitely was made.
Lore and history as big as Star Trek, they wouldn't have to make much up.
Exactly, and to me it seems like it would be to their detriment if they tried. Yeah. Like it's so established that again we've got, this is like the original nerd shit. So of course they're gonna be very careful with it. So yeah, like as soon as you get to this place and meet the leader of the Hotari, who by the way have the upper hand, they're the populace, and so you're like, oh, this is good, I should be on their side. But then you kind of hear the story of the Elydians as well, and you're kind of like, oh, okay, so I'm kind of, I must need to understand these guys a little bit more. Like you literally have little dialogues about that before meeting the ruler of the Hotari, and then they just straight up ask you, which side are you on? And you cannot choose another option. Like, you have to like make choices in this game, and they're choices that you personally would probably not want to make, and that's the strength of this game. This game, so they refer early on to the Kobayashi Maru, which is one of the more famous things in Star Trek. It's the unwinnable scenario that they kind of set it up in one of the movies as like as a thing that has to do with Captain Kirk. I won't get into it. You'll just have to watch Star Trek movies or something. But it's one of those things where it's like you have to decide between helping this crew and endangering your crew, or staying safe but endangering this other crew. And like it's a simulation for training that is supposed to be unwinnable. It's just to gauge your decision making, and that's kind of like what this whole game feels like. I think they referred to it in that way on purpose, because there's a lot of things where you basically have to just kind of close your eyes and blindly pick between two awful things or three awful things, or one of them might seem good but you choose it and then it's not good, or you might choose one thing that's like surprisingly the right answer even though it doesn't seem like it should be. Sometimes you just pick the honest thing, and it's even if it's bad and it ends up being good, there's a lot of, it's really, really fascinating. And this game is about 9 to 10 hours long, so you got plenty of those kind of choices to make. And again, you choose between these two possibly warring alien races, it's going to affect every conversation you have with them. Soon after, everybody who was present for that is now going to have something to say to you about what you chose. So it's like, that's just kind of how it's going to go. Yeah. So that's Jarrah's story. The other story has to do with the other character whose name is Carter, and I can't remember his other name. But anyways,
but Carter basically, Diaz, there's two full stories to this game to enjoy.
It feels like a B story, but yeah, the other guy is a engineer who is basically having to like manage people like on his level. Like, you know, basically he's friends with a couple of people who are going through it, and he's got a Vulcan boss who is not very Spock-like in his friendliness. He's like basically a retail manager of a Vulcan kind of guy, you know, just making him happy. It's just pretty great. And a lot of that is actually more hands-on. It's a lot more like fixing stuff, and you know, the stakes aren't quite as high. And the other cool thing is that he and Jera don't really ever talk to each other. Like there's a couple of lines, but like they're not face to face. One of them's on the bridge, one of them's on the lower decks. So, but everything that they do affects each other's stories. So it's actually a really cool extra dimension to have him too. And eventually, you know, he goes out with the science officer and, you know, starts to try and unravel the mystery. But again, he's not really with the other character, but information you gather with him helps her in her case, and vice versa. So it's like, it's really excellent. And then so yeah, that's the whole, like, you know, the twists and turns of it. And like I said, you know, same thing, you have to make decisions that affect relationships with other people, and affect the story on the whole. And yeah, they did a great job with like not only doing that, you know, like creating this world, but they also did a lot of stuff that even to somebody who's a novice like me, like you know, I don't mind spoiling this one because it's in like literally every gameplay video and every like thumbnail of this game. But they bring back characters from other Star Treks that you may have heard of, and the main one of which, and he plays a large role in the story, is Spock. Yay. Spock. And he is, of course, you know, Leonard Nimoy sadly passed away, but in time to do Seaman on the Dreamcast, but not in time to do this. So yeah, he is actually voiced by a sound-alike who is so perfect. I cannot. The guy's name is Peter something.
Peter Michael.
Yeah, and he is so pitch perfect as Spock. Like, I was just like, an old Spock specifically. Like, I was like, wow, I actually can't believe this. It really does seem like he's in the room. So that's really cool. And then, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say the game's sitting at $40. I know we've been chatting about it for a while. What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, I think this is a great narrative experience, and I think that they did a lot of stuff great. You know, couple hiccups here and there, especially graphically, but you know, this is a very ambitious game graphically, like I said. So, you know, a lot of that can be kind of overlooked. Soundtrack's amazing. You know, all of it is it's a good package. So yeah, I would say that this is definitely worth the money. If you're not a Star Trek fan, but you know at least a little bit of it, like me, then you're definitely going to want to check this out because it doesn't overwhelm you at all with anything. And you know, and you just have to know like the basic vocabulary, and they explain it anyway. So it's kind of like, yeah, I would say this is a buy it, mostly because you get to scan stuff with a tricorder.
Sounds good.
Sure. I'll throw a quick one in. I was watching some footage and saw a few scenes that looked like action scenes, but I wasn't 100%. It looked like it might be just like a pick a direction and shoot kind of thing. Is that an accurate description, or what's going on?
No, the action scenes. So again, this has WASD controls, so you can move your character around during action scenes, and you basically aim and shoot. It's not like there's not like ammo counts or, you know, like dodge rolling or anything like that going on, but it does have some action and you do have control over it. And then, like I said, a lot of it is like stuff, you know, something might be flying at you and you've got a quick time event and you better be paying attention or else you might miss it, depending on how fast it is. But yeah, for like the phaser situations, it is actually walking around and aiming at stuff and shooting and, you know, hopefully getting it. I never like failed anything in the game, so I don't know if there's like a real game over or fail condition. I think that if you screw up too bad, the story just keeps going and you just kind of feel like you suck. And then sometimes, like there was a scene early on where a lady gets laser blasted in the face and she's like your friend, and that makes you feel real bad because maybe you made the decision that she insisted that you go first down to safety, and then she'll follow you. And then, so you're like, oh, damn, I fell for it. I went first, and then she got laser blasted in the face, and now, that's going to change the story. I better restart the whole chapter and then not make that decision. And then, you make the decision to be like, no, you first. And then they just get into an argument, and she gets laser blasted in the face anyway. So that happens sometimes, too. It's just that kind of game. It's important to the plot that this lady get laser blasted in the face. So the game will make sure it happens.
Cool. Any other questions?
That was just a really funny review. I was chomping on my sandwich, but I laughed a lot, and some sandwich got in some weird places. Just wanted to say that was really good, dude.
Are you going to stream?
Awesome.
Are you going to stream your I'm not going to touch a single button playthrough, where you just just to see how far you get? I do wonder because everything's timed, right? So.
Yeah, I wonder. Okay, I'm gonna have to do that.
I have enjoyed the plays of the Quarry or the old horror game. I can't remember the one from the first one, the one from PS
Until Dawn.
PS4, Until Dawn, of people in those chase sequences just refusing to press buttons at logs and tripping over every single one. It's just I do enjoy that on occasion.
Oh yeah. I actually do need to do that because and the Quarry. Thank you. That was actually a game I was exactly thinking of but I didn't have the time to look it up. But yeah, that's an interesting game.
Nice. So on the same tip, I guess, is Amnesia: The Bunker. This is not an Otome game. It is developed and published by Frictional Games, released June 6th on Xbox One, Series X and S, PS4, PS5, and PC for $24.99. Amnesia: The Bunker is a first-person horror game set in a desolate World War I bunker. Face the oppressing terrors stalking the dark corridors. Search for and use the tools and weapons at your disposal while keeping the lights on at all costs. Overcome fear, persevere, and make your way out alive. Pernell, did you make it out alive?
The fear of love you're talking about, right? Because this is an Otome game where you take the role of a World War I soldier.
Oh my God.
Who is not quite sure of his feelings are being reciprocated by a mysterious creature that lies within the bunker. You see, the monster is constantly pursuing you, but you're not sure if the pursuit isn't for love or if it's for aggression. But the game always cuts to black before you can find out. So it's like, well, I guess. Okay, I'm done running the joke. Okay, so
I just screamed laughing. Oh my God, I'm dying, dude.
So full disclosure, a large part of why I wanted this review is because the original Amnesia is actually the first review I ever did for the show, way back in the day.
Wow.
So the fact that another Amnesia game came out had me thinking, oh, this would be a fun one just to bring up on the show when Joe mentioned it to me. So here I go, booting it up, thinking it was going to be just like the first Amnesia, in that I was able to play the entire game in one sitting on Easter Sunday because the game was engrossing and I was able to get through it because it was manageable for me. This game ain't that for me. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I'm saying that in the holy shit. I thought I was immune to scary games. That is incorrect. That is incorrect. This might be, and I hate doing that because I feel like that. I'm like one of those guys that I feel like a markiplier hypes up the fake hype thing. But no, this might be the scariest game I've ever freaking played. I'm sorry. It works. It freaking works. The idea is that, as Joe mentioned, you're in a bunker and you don't know how you got there or why you're there. You just know that you want to get out. And the only exit is blocked off by debris. You find a note that says, look for dynamite and a detonation plunger located somewhere within the bunker, connect them together, boom, blow your way out. Because earlier before you woke up, some French soldiers actually sealed the tunnel. No, that's not a spoiler. It's the freaking beginning of the game. French soldiers pretty much blew the lid shut to keep whatever's in there with you, because they didn't realize anyone was still around. So it's sealed off. So now you're on a quest to find these two elements to get out of this bunker. The bunker is a very claustrophobic place. There's a reason why there's that one horror movie called The Descent that I refuse to watch. It's because the entire premise is about being in a claustrophobic cave space. This entire goddamn game is being in man-dug trench tunnels. It's freaking stressful. And that's just the beginning of it, because as you walk around these tunnels, the only things you have to light your way are wind-up flashlights you can get where you have to pull a cord, and it makes a loud noise every time you pull the cord, and then when you stop, it only lasts for a very short period of time before it goes out again. And the light it produces isn't even very good. It's just enough to get you out of a tight spot. And the other way to see where you're going is in the main zone, basically like the hub area. There's a fuel generator, or there's an electric generator that is powered by fuel. And you can fill this generator with containers of fuel you find lying around this bunker. Each container has a random amount of oil in it, so you don't even know how much oil you're putting in until it shows it. You have a very limited capacity of inventory, so be wise with what you carry around. The typical things you want to carry around, generally, is the revolver gun that you have at the beginning of the game, a stopwatch you get, which allows you to time how much time you have left on the generator before you run out of fuel, and it shuts down. And then beyond that, whatever heck you want. But basically, there's not a lot of options you have for inventory space, though you can expand it as you play the game. Now, you might be asking yourself, why in the world do you need a stopwatch to time an electricity generator? Why not just use your wind-up flashlight ad nauseum? And I'm going to tell you why. Because there's a goddamn monster stalking you in this place. It loves the dark. It listens for any sounds you make, and it will brutalize you. Oh, and you can't kill it.
Yeah.
The game gives you a gun and you can't even kill it. It's just like, bang.
Very nice.
Well, then, what do you think that was? A love tap? That's why I think it secretly has a thing for you. Just,
Timber in chat saying, so to play this game, it seems like it's required to have an extra pair of underwear.
Oh, absolutely. You'll get a chuckle out of this, and it's actually worth telling for achievement hunters in that respect, too. So early on in the game, I was actually starting up for the first time, before I had to go do some errands, like earlier this week, or rather earlier last week. So I go, and I'm playing the game, just getting my bearings on the controls, at which point, by the way, the controls in this game are, I don't want to say they're obtuse, but they're kind of obtuse, and I believe they're done intentionally so to add that extra level of tension to the game, as in to open a door, you have to actually hold down the trigger and then pull the stick back to pull the door, assuming you have to pull it, because if you did the wrong direction, you better recorrect that shit because you're going the wrong way and there's something on your ass. Anyway, my point stands, I'm running around getting used to the controls and stuff. I come across a point very early in the game. Someone says, do this thing for me, basically setting you up for the situation you're in, right? And as I go, just maneuver after finding the thing, something freaky happens. I go, time to go. What are you doing? Look at the time. I'm about to go do something. I stop the game right there. I go into the main menu. The game pops an achievement saying you quit just as the game was getting good. Basically saying you quit as the game started getting scary. So I figured if you're chasing achievements or whatnot, you'll want to do that because you want the achievement. But I don't think a lot of people are going to go, oh, nope, and out of this shit. But if you do, they give you the achievement for that. They want everyone to know you
would nope out of this shit. Like, this is one of those games I imagine that, like, if they put a trailer together of critical acclaim and shit like that, they should just have one that says, fuck this, I'm out. Joe, the SML podcast.
And I'll be honest with you, there are a lot of people that are going to be that way. Like, I'm spoiler for the end, I am absolutely wholeheartedly recommending this game. Well, with that said, a lot of people won't be able to play this. Like, I'm not even making it up. And keep in mind, you technically could sort of save scum it if you wanted to. Basically, save your game at the main save point. Do some exploration. If you get killed, just like, well, I'm going to try it again. But at least for me, it didn't fucking matter because I'm still trying. And when that thing skeeps up on me, I'm freaking out. Especially when you think you got everything under control. Like you read the proper route. You're safe. I can bullet line for this thing. You can't even run probably. He hears you running. So you're like, I got to walk to not make him hear me. But by walking, I'm wasting fuel. So God damn it. But yes, it's beautiful. Like, it's beautiful in the most scary, frightening way. I enjoyed air quotes, the exploration aspect of trying to figure this place out. Also, there's also interesting aspects of this game too, where like you're looking around, again, not a sports, a gameplay concept in the game, where you're looking for like dog tags that may or may not have keys on them, like passwords that you might have to use to unlock, like, you know, lockers or doors or whatever. Also stressful. Because like, well, I might have alerted him on my way into this room. Got to turn this thing.
I can't wait to read the tweets for this episode, and it just says like, Amnesia: The Bunker by Frictional Games, a desolate horror game set in a World War I bunker. Will Pernell piss himself? Listen and find out.
Yes.
Writing this down as you say that, taking notes.
Yes. Will the urine flow for him or others? Yes.
So Pernell,
yeah, this game.
We got to know. It's $24.99. Will this extract fear tinkle? Is it worth buying?
I will say this. Absolutely. I already said earlier, it's definitely worth buying. But I will say this as well. I'm hearing that it's a fairly short game. Again, I don't know because I didn't freaking get through the game. I'm too busy pissing myself. But I'm going to continue with this bad boy. I want to see it through. But I'm sure there's cats out there that might be able to beat it pretty quickly. But with that said, I stand by the statement that this game is ridiculously scary as long as you get into it and you're not like stupid desensitized, in which case I want what you're on. But even if you beat it quickly, I feel like the experience is worth the price of 1.5 movie tickets. Like they did a great job with this title. I can't not recommend this to people who like horror movie games or scary games.
Cool. Sounds good. All right. One last game to talk about on this marathon episode. We got Onigo Hunter, developed by XSEED, published by KEMCO, released May 26th on Xbox One, Series X and S, Switch, PS4, PS5, and PC. For $14.99, while investigating ancient ruins, the king has completely disappeared. His daughter, whose position as princess is under threat, makes a request for help. A fledgling hunter takes on this request and sets off on a quest to find the king. This sounds like a KEMCO RPG, obviously. Chris, tell us about it.
Obviously. Okay, well, to completely flip the reviews around, or the situation around, now we are getting into something I'm very familiar with, almost uniquely familiar with.
Nice.
Yes, it is a KEMCO XSEED RPG. This is, I thought it was Onigo Hunters. I don't know. At first, for a couple of times, I thought it was Oingo, like Oingo Boingo.
It's Onigo.
Yeah. Reading it as Oingo. So anyways, in Oingo Hunters. Yeah, so this is a KEMCO RPG. Let's check the old list that I have still never written down. This all comes from my memory. Male protagonist, check. Female secondary character, possible love interest. Usually the plot hinges on them, check. Third and fourth characters who are not very interesting, check. No, just kidding. It does check a lot of boxes, but actually this one does a couple things differently. So you play as hero of the story, Fane, who is a monster hunter, literally hunting them with like traps and stuff. So like a monster trapper, let's call him that. And he wears the goggles on his forehead. He is the leader of this group, although the story more hinges on Lumiere, the princess. The candle from Beauty and the Beast. I mean, the princess of this story, who has on her forehead one goggle. There's no explanation for it. She doesn't wear it. It's just on her forehead, but I'm like, I wonder what this means. It's like a eye patch goggle. Anyways, and then her butler Sebastian, who wears a monocle that is not a goggle, but it is still one eye thing. And then a robot girl called Rama, who doesn't wear any goggles whatsoever, and joins you a little bit later. So this ragtag group of friends is going to search for the king, who, as the thing said, went missing. So the princess is looking to hire a hunter from the local guild, and Fane is the one who takes the job because he wants to raise his rank and stuff. And then she gets real interested in him, but he's reticent and kind of a jerk. So that gets to play out the way it does. Like I said, every other KEMCO XSEED male protagonist is either a sweetie or a jerk, and this one kind of falls on the jerk side. He's a little arrogant and clueless, but he's not as bad as like some dudes, like the freaking guy in never mind. I'm just I don't even think I could challenge myself to remember the title. Infinite Dunamis. I remembered it. Anyways, thank you. That's like 5 years ago or more review. I think 7 years ago. Anyways, so yeah, you go through different islands that are centered or kind of spread out around the world. You start off in a hub town and you kind of travel around. Now, this is different because it doesn't have a world map to walk around in. Nor a town. This literally just has locations that you go to, which serve as the dungeons, and occasionally other things, and a hub town where you just choose to go to the equipment store or choose to go to the guild or your own house. They've decided to take the map kind of out of it, which is fine. That's their freedom.
Hey, kids.
And then, we've got the usual systems here of customizing weapons, swords eating swords. We also have the inexplicable growing HP seeds in a pot that you just carry around with you using a real world timer. We got the double lottery, as well as the ability to use premium stuff that drops from random battles to purchase like high-end items or, kind of play the lottery to try and get like end game items. Except that there's not as much onus on this one to just blast through every single enemy as quick as you can, because this one has a monster capturing system akin to Pokemon. This is brand new and unique to this game, at least as far as all the KEMCO RPGs I've played, in that you can weaken an enemy and then choose to capture them with a special skill that all of your characters have. You have to make sure that you have the correct item to trap them in. They don't quite call them Pokeballs, but it's so close. And here's the thing, though. When you capture a monster, instead of making it your friend and making it fight against other monsters, which it seems like kind of the obvious thing, you combine them and make potions and stuff. It's pretty sick. And I don't mean that in like the rad way. And you can also use them to help customize your items. So, wow. Okay. They also raise your hunter ranking, which helps you take on new jobs. The guild has basically, it hands you out your mission, both story missions and side missions. You can only take one at a time, so you will be fast traveling to this guild many times. Sometimes it's go to this island and kill 3 cats. That's literally one of the first ones. They're wonder cats, though, and they're evil.
Okay, that's fine then.
They're evil, but they're also adorable, so I'm like, okay. No, I did not finish that one. It was optional. But anyways, yeah, so basically, yeah, you go out to... Basically, it's kind of narrowing it, distilling down the actual adventuring part to just being, go to these places and do this stuff. I think they're even more so than usual leaning on the systems and the story to kind of get you through, because there are lengthy cutscenes. I joke about the KEMCO characters being like, pretty predictable, but they're always entertaining to read, and they do play together pretty well. The stories are generally well written, and this one's no exception there. And of course, it does have an element of mystery because you're trying to find the king. You're trying to also learn the true intentions of certain characters in the game, Butler, and as you play through the games, medium length, then you will start to unravel some stuff and keep you entertained for a couple of weeks while you're between giant epic RPGs like your Final Fantasies and whatnot.
What are your thoughts on this one for $15?
Thank you. For $15, I would say it's as much a buy it as any KEMCO RPG. I know that's starting to become kind of a cop-out answer. But the thing about it is that they always do bring the quality, and this one was originally developed in 2016, so it's not exactly a brand new adventure. It's just as they start porting these mobile games, we're starting to much later start to see like some evolution here, but it's stuff that actually evolved like several years ago. It's like when you're looking at a sun, a star, you're actually looking at the star from like hundreds of years ago or something, because it's taken that long for its light to get to you. That's how it is with these RPGs. And in that sense, it's as much a buy it as anything. I do like the systems in the game. There's KEMCO RPGs.
It's much a buy it as the stars in the sky.
There you go. Why should I not go out on that? There you go.
All right. Well, I guess we're done. We made it through the episode. Thank you, everyone, for hanging out. Grant, thank you so much for being here. Brooke, thank you. And Tim for being here for the chat with Ro. Chris and Pernell, thank you for coming on and hanging out. And Aki, thank you for showing up and chatting for a little bit. I know we were going to try getting Saints Row in at the very end, but I'm really tired and I want to go to bed.
Saints Row?
I totally understand.
DLC.
There's another... Oh, okay. I was like, wait a minute. I thought that game came out.
Yeah, we covered the DLC on the last episode, but she wanted to do a wrap-up of like the whole game one more time. So we'll do that on Thursday.
Yeah, when I reviewed the DLC, I hadn't played any of the game before that, so I played up to that point, and I hadn't really played any of the game, and I finally finished the game on Monday. So,
nice.
Yeah. So
we'll talk about that next episode. For now, we are going to end the show with some tracks from Ro's album. I've got Gerudo, Shrine, and Kass. Does that sound like a good lineup?
Sounds good.
Oh, yeah.
Grant, anything you would change?
No, sir. I do have a thought, though.
What is your thought?
Pancake pop bumpers. What do you think? On the machine?
I'm down
pop
for
bumpers or pancakes?
Pernell, what do you think?
Fucking yeah!
That's right.
That's me. That's me, all right. Yeah. Fucking yeah, Didi.
I guess the final words for the episode are...
Perfect.